This week on Barbell Shrugged, we review Joe Sena, all-around badass, founder of the Spartan race, Spartan death race. Oh! No! I take it back. I take it back.
Let's go. Ow! Spartan the fuck up. Let's go.
And my ass was never the same.
That sounds bad out of context.
Welcome to Barbell Shrugged. I'm Mike Blutzer here with Doug Larson and Chris Moore with CTP behind the camera, of course. We are here. We have traveled to the strange land of Vermont.
The beautiful and strange land.
Pittsfield, Vermont. And to talk about Spartan racing.
It's an intense topic.
This is where people come to get their asses kicked.
Like
we did.
Long
story short.
Like we did this
I
morning.
remember a couple years ago I discovered Spartan race because there was like all these videos online of people just going for days and days and days up in Vermont and up in the mountains, and it was
through water, and fire, and ice, and all sorts of.
Was there fire?
Terrible conditions.
There's fire.
There's fire. Yeah, there's fire.
You got to jump over it.
I've been challenged many times to sign up for it, and I'm like, yeah, I should do that.
When it comes time to sign up and put your credit card information down.
I once looked at the registration page.
But all the further you got.
What kept you away?
Weightlifting. Because
sounds like fear.
The race happens.
Sounds like fear kept you away.
The race happens so close to like weightlifting and the time of year. And there's just not enough time between the two sports, and they're so different. And you would train so differently. You saw me this morning. It wasn't pretty.
You're still breathing heavy.
Yeah.
For the record, you and I both were taking up the rear on the 1 mile warm up warm up jog in the 5 a.m. Practically icy cold, rainy conditions on that driveway out there.
Yeah.
We thought that you guys had gone for coffee.
Yeah.
We were gone. You had to have it right.
Well, Chris and I were having a discussion. It was very philosophical, deep conversation.
Stall tactics is what it was.
CTP kept going, oh, let me take a break. I got to get some of this footage.
I got to get my camera.
Step off to the side. For your sake.
It's funny because the camera doesn't work when it's that dark out, so I knew that was a tactic.
Oh, you knew you were full of shit.
There's no lights.
It's a technology, man. You wouldn't understand.
All right, Joseph, how'd you end up in Vermont running these death races?
So crazy story. I had done adventure races all over the world, and every time I did one, I thought, could I live here? You know, you're out there kayaking or biking or hiking, and just
in Vermont or the woods.
In the woods and mountains, and I mean everywhere. Switzerland, northern Quebec, down in South America, you name it. I was doing these races, and I found myself in Wyoming, in Jackson Hole, and on the plane on the way back, there was a magazine that had, I don't know if you know, the ranches in Wyoming are like $70 million, 140. So they were out of the price range. Mm-hmm. And there was this farm property in Vermont with a covered bridge, horse barn, acreage, mountain for $390,000. So very inexpensive relative to the $120 million properties elsewhere in the mag.
Just a little bit.
$390 million is practically free.
390,000.
Like for some people, Doug, sure, shit.
So we checked it out, and we ended up here, and then we got married on the farm. My mother-in-law was dead set against it. Who gets married on a farm? And
well, it's a nice farm in all fairness.
I just want to
very
stop
nice
real quick.
farm.
CTP, I want you to film right out this window right here. There's somebody training out there. I just looked out and there's a guy running through the woods.
or is he just going home? I know we have a lot of guys out in the wilderness as being mountain men.
Is that Joe also?
That could be. I can't see who it is, but
every other person up here is named Joe.
There are a lot of hard-ass working Joes here.
A lot of Joes.
Except for the guy that really lives in the woods. One of the guys actually lives in the woods, right?
Matt eats squirrels, and I don't know what he eats, but he is tough.
He survives somehow.
He doesn't come in town for food. He just eats what's out there.
Well, we see him in the general store every once in a while. He doesn't talk much. He loves maintaining the trails. He's a sweetheart of a guy. If you could actually break through, I think he's been so alone so long in the woods. He's turning into like
the wild man. He's like feral.
He's
man.
Regressing back to his primal state. Legitimately. He's not just wearing a primal t-shirt. This guy is fucking primal.
Jack Nicholson in The Shining.
Yeah. And you also have some guys, we won't get too far off the top, but some guys living in barns. It's just some tough individuals around here.
It's cold water. Cold living.
Yeah.
So we get the place. Mother-in-law says, who gets married on a farm? I say, don't worry, we're going to fix it up. We've got 9 months. I call all my adventure racing buddies who are used to doing 8-10 days out in the wilderness.
So how long you been doing the adventure race thing? You've got all these friends.
So at that point, I had probably done a decade, 11 years of crazy races. Call up a bunch of buddies, 5 or 6 of them show up, and we dismantle the barn we're in as well as the other buildings really quickly. We're doing literally 24-hour days, just taking the stuff down because the winter's coming. And we put in new foundations. We stand everything back up. We make it just in time for the wedding. We get married here, and a bunch of people ask at the wedding, hey, could we have our wedding at the farm? So that starts a wedding business, which will help pay the taxes, help pay the bills. And lucky enough, we land Theo Epstein gets married here. He was managing the Red Sox at the time, young manager, and people in Boston go crazy for him. So that really just helped this wedding business in a big way. And then a bunch of other famous people I'm not supposed to mention because we have to sign NDAs showed up and get married here. And from there, we said, oh, it would be awesome if we had an actual working farm with cattle and vegetables growing and things so we could supply all the food, not only for ourselves, but for the wedding. So we got a farm going, and then the general store came up for sale. And they were going to turn it into apartments that had been around since like the 1800s. So we grabbed that. I called some friends in New York to raise the money, and we bought the general store and figured, then the farm could supply the general store, and the general store could do the cooking for the weddings, and we could build this really cool self-sustaining little economy.
Yeah, we made that point earlier, like yesterday. You're constructing a whole new economy in this otherwise very small town of how many people? Was it 500 people?
400 people, yeah.
400 people, and you're constructing these awesome facilities. It's really fantastic, and every one of them is extraordinarily beautiful and well done.
We just there are more chickens here and moose than there are people, which is difficult.
Oh yeah,
makes it difficult.
Some people would hate that.
I saw a sign about moose crossing earlier. I've never seen a moose crossing sign before.
I think it was the first time I'd ever seen moose crossing. So can you explain to everybody what the Spartan race is? The first thing that ever popped up on my radar was the Spartan death race because that's like, the most epic. Sometimes I see like 5 or 10K and I'm like, doesn't really register, but then
it registers with me.
Then I see something that's like 2 or 3 days long, and I go, "Whoa, that's serious, man!" And I have got some friends that have done it since then. But can you tell us a little bit about the Spartan race, and then how you got into racing? And I'd like to hear about. Kind of touched on it yesterday when we came in, just how you were in Manhattan at one time.
So before we came up here and did everything I just explained, I was running a Wall Street firm. And knock on wood, doing okay, but it wasn't fulfilling. There was everything was about the money each week and how much you were making and the dinners and the drinks, and really looking for something else, which is why when I was doing the races, I was looking for, could I live here? And the opportunity came up to pack it in, leave the city life, leave a lot of money on the table, and come up here and just live a different life. And so Courtney, my wife, was interested. We did it. We pulled the trigger. Now the weddings are rolling, the general store's open, the farm's moving with steam, but we need more people here. You can't survive on chickens. So
we all wish you could. But.
So I said, why don't we put on a death race? I was with my buddy Andy, who you guys haven't met yet, and he had this experience through life. He was a swim coach, and he would always look for great athletes, just like any other coach in any other sport. Swimming's pretty serious, right? These guys are putting in 5-6 hour days in the pool.
Yeah, huge training volume.
Huge training volume, and he'd be disappointed because 90% of them wouldn't commit at the level he wanted them to commit at. I had experienced the same exact thing through my life, but in business. I'd been running businesses since I'm 13 years old. Massive training volume with me because I like to work 20 hours a day, and very few people could keep that pace. The only people I found that would stick with me were Eastern Europeans. They were animals. They worked.
A tough sort of person. Right?
They are different.
I couldn't hang with them, and I just fell in love with their whole philosophy, and they had a different frame of reference on life. Like they were fighting. You ever see Cinderella Man with Russell Crowe?
Oh, it's an amazing movie, man.
No.
Stunning movie.
So he's a washed-up boxer. He's going for a heavyweight title fight. He breaks his hand like during regular work or whatever, or maybe got in a fight, and he has no business going back in the ring. He gets the title fight, and the reporter comes up to him and says, "Why are you fighting? Like you're washed up, you're out of shape, you got a broken hand." He says, "I'm fighting for milk." Now, you can't compete with a guy fighting for milk. He's got no money, he's got nothing. You can't compete with that. And the Eastern Europeans were fighting for milk. And so that just intrigued me. So Andy had this perspective on swimmers. I had this perspective on trying to find these great employees and partners. And we said, we were out on a 12-hour snowshoe hike through these mountains one night. Why don't we create a race that just purposely breaks people, not unlike the military. The military does. Like, we're not going to pat you on the back. We're not going to have water stations. Nobody's cheering for you. This is just going to break you. And the one person or 10 people that are left when it's over, those are the people we want to hang out with. Those are the people you'd want in the swimming pool or running a business with you. So that was early 2000s, 2004, 2005. And the race takes a turn for the better. All of a sudden, Olympic athletes are showing up, all kinds of people, 300-400 participants. Well, New York Times picks it up, and they come out here and they film, and all of a sudden, reality TV show folks are calling my house. My wife's like, "We're not doing a reality show." I said, "Well, let's just,
hold on, honey, hold on. Let's listen to what the man has to say.
Let's just listen, right?" And
so, let's just listen.
So Marion remembers. Marion's walking around here with a camera, and private jets start flying into Rutland, Vermont. And very rarely do private jets fly into Rutland, Vermont, and they're the reality TV show folks. So the guys that owned Ultimate Fighter, the UFC, owned Orange County Chopper, Ghost Hunters, 13 hit TV shows, shows up, and he's like, "I want to do this with you. I love what you're doing with Death Race. We're doing this," and we sell the show in 5 minutes. Discovery, 13 episodes. It's going to be a giant deal. This is like 2009. 2008, 2009. So we're excited. And so I was thinking, we're going to have this TV show. We got this great race. We got a big opportunity here and a big platform when this is on TV to change lives, to really go out to the masses and get people to experience the stuff we've been experiencing. It can't be over 2 days, 3 days, because the public's not going to participate. It's got to be something that's an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and we can get people off the couch. And so Spartan Race was born. So we were on dual tracks. TV shows coming for Death Race. Spartan Race is born. And the funny thing about Spartan Race was I called up all those adventure racing buddies that had helped me with the barns here and stuff, and begged Andy, begged everybody. And as exciting as the idea sounded, I begged my brother-in-law, my family. Everybody said it's ridiculous. No one is going to go jump over fire and crawl under barbed. You can't make that business work. So nobody wanted to invest. So whatever, I said I'm going to invest just a tiny amount of money, and I'm going to get some friends to run this thing. And we did it, and it exploded. It became, as you know, a big business, will have maybe a million participants this year.
That's amazing.
1 million participants.
You clearly put your finger right on something that people were begging for. People who are chained up in whatever life they're living. We're not happy with the traditional fitness tract of typical gym stuff. This just ignited something in a whole lot of people.
Yeah, I think people needed it, right? There's people working in cubicles. They're sleeping on their couches. They're eating crappy food, and we gave them a vehicle to change that, to be a Navy SEAL for a day, to be an Olympian for a day, be in the Tour de France for a day, right? Just feel badass.
To face themselves, really.
Yeah, find out what they're made of, and then force themselves to wake up early, go to bed early, not drink that extra glass of wine. And so it worked. And
so what are they experiencing during these races? You mentioned jumping over fire, which probably nobody else does, I wouldn't think. Like, what other things are in these races that are
That's
unique?
your niche.
Yeah.
we got
Well, there'll be fire. You'll be jumping over a lot of fire.
Every obstacle you can envision in a military obstacle course. So, like, really, this sport was born out of the military in the early 1900s. These guys were setting up walls and rope climbs and things that you see at Spartan Race, or even in some gyms these days. We purposely design them in a way that are meant to break you. So you might do a rope climb, and then all of a sudden you've got something we call a Hercules hoist. So now you're hurting your arms again. And we do that because we want you to feel in doses a serious obstacle that you've got to overcome mentally and physically. And at the end, then the medal means something, and you start thinking, you know what? I'm tougher than I thought I was. That kid screaming in the morning at me is not so bad. The fact that the car didn't start is not so bad. The coffee being cold is not so bad. We go into an airport.
I don't know about the coffee being cold. Come on, my friend.
You're on a whole other level.
Well, Joe, you mentioned yesterday,
This is ridiculous.
over dinner or whatever, right? What this actually does is sort of strip away everything from your life, and it reduces you down to a state where you're like, I just want one
Primal.
glass of water. If I had one glass of water,
That's all I need.
everything would be okay. I think that's not something that most humans in today's world, at least in typical Western place, is ever going to experience, or that I would really just die for one bite of anything. Food.
That's fighting for milk.
Yeah, that's fighting for milk. You get a taste what that is actually like.
Yeah.
If it's just for 1 hour, imagine that's a transformative experience.
We got to get Zach. We got to make a T-shirt that says "Fight for your milk."
Fight. Oh yeah,
There you go.
Well,
Zach's
Zach's all
over there
over
on the
that.
couch.
Zach passed out from that workout this morning.
I'm trying to find. Man, someone shot me a message. I can't remember if it was on Facebook or Twitter. They said to ask you about a story about pennies.
Oh, the pennies were good. Pennies were good. So going back to the death race. So death race every year has a life lesson. So the year that listener is asking about was the year of money. Is money important or isn't it? So we decided that we were going to have everybody carry $50, I believe it was, in pennies, which is about 35 pounds, in their backpacks.
That's a lot of pennies, man.
Now, when the race starts, you can imagine you're going to be going, 72 hours or more. The finish line's unknown. And you're carrying all this weight, plus all your other gear and an axe and so forth. And if we say to them, which we did, you can get rid of the money. You can donate it. We had a donation booth. You can donate it all. You can give it to another team, somebody else that's racing.
Here, you carry this. This is heavy.
Or you keep it because you might need it. Like, well, shit, what if there's an obstacle later that I need money to pay for?
Okay.
So people, just like in life, people had to make this decision. And so one guy ended up keeping all his money and collecting other money. And Marion will remember this too well, but they were going through a pond, and
Oh yeah.
I see where this is going. Yeah.
and this guy gets pinned underwater.
Yeah.
And Marion happened to be filming, and I just randomly happened to be coming on this situation. I mean, we cover thousands of acres here with this race. I just happened to be at this spot in this moment. And I see him burst out of the water. I don't know exactly what happened yet. And he's breathing heavy. He's laying on the side, just trying to. And I turned.
He's on shore.
Yeah, he's on shore.
Okay.
And I turned to the camera people and I said, well, "Weren't you going to save him?" They were like, "Yeah, we had to get the shot first."
we have priorities, man. Content over that guy's life.
But when you see this shot,
he signed the waiver, right?
He signed the waiver. When you see this
20
shot,
page waiver you've got.
it is scary. I mean, his head goes under and there's silence. Wow. And there's nothing. No bubbles, nothing.
He's just underwater, just running or something?
He can't get the backpack off.
The guy behind the camera is like, this is great. This is real.
Is that footage that we can clip into the show?
Yeah.
Like right after this, we clip it in real quick?
Yeah, Marion could give you that.
During the commercial break, we should play that.
Yeah.
It's an incredible scene, scary scene. And I immediately pulled the pond from the race after that moment because that was dangerous.
Good story.
Did he come out with the pennies?
He came out with the pennies.
Or did he leave the pennies?
He came out with the pennies. I think he became a monk after that. He doesn't care about money anymore.
He's like walk along the bottom of the pond till he got out.
Money's not important to him anymore.
I gotta say, that is a brilliant twist, man. That is fantastic. You do not get that kind of experience in a typical fitness contest of any kind, strength contest, no matter what. That's fantastic.
And that message, right? A good message.
Yeah.
Jeez.
You're drilling way past fitness and strength. That's amazing.
Yeah, so during lunch, I read the prologue of your book, the story about being in Canada and doing like 350 miles in negative 30-degree temperature or something like that. Can you briefly touch on that story?
Crazy son of a bitch.
It was a crazy story.
God
You can't read that story without being like, I should read the rest of this book.
I'm not a reader, so I need to hear it.
So what was funny about that was we had signed up for the Iditarod, which is the dog sled race across Alaska.
I've heard I need to see that. That looks awesome.
Well, we were doing it without the dogs or the sleds.
Read about it.
So,
I heard it was hard with the dogs.
There's a man did a ride.
So we go out there. Well, before we got there, my friends who were getting me into this sport suggested that we do a tune-up practice race in northern Quebec. Mm-hmm. It's going to be easy. We're going to just go win it, right? 350 miles, right?
Easy.
Well,
crazy dudes, man.
Well, it turns out none of us had ever experienced this before. Certainly not me. I was new to the sport, and the guys that were supposed to be and girl was supposed to be taking me through this had never experienced a winter race like this. So anyway, we get out in the wild out there. It starts out in a ice boating challenge. So you got to jump in this ice boat as in the St. Lawrence River as chunks the size of Volkswagens of ice are smashing into your boat. Mm-hmm. You're jumping off the boat to run with your spike shoes on the ice to get the boat moving again. Needless to say, you get to the other side of the river, you're soaked. It's 30 below. It was terrible. And then we got on our bicycles and we traveled through this snow, which don't work very well in snow. Mm-hmm. And then we were trekking. And we found ourselves at one point, I don't want to ruin the book, in a situation that was dire. We were on top of a mountain, and the team before us was rappelling down about a 1,500-foot rappel, and the ropes aren't long enough to. There's not one rope that makes that. They're anchored in, and then you switch over to another rope. Well, the guys that had set the ropes failed to tie in the first, whatever length that rope was. Let's just call it 200 feet. Was not tied into the mountain. So as he was going down, this guy happened to have enough experience. It was in the night. It was 3 a.m. He happened to have enough experience that he felt the looseness of the rope and braked.
In the dark
and stopped.
Oh, my God.
So we get to the top of the mountain, which took us about 12 hours to hike up this thing. And we got this situation where the ropes are shut down because they got a guy dangling from the rope. Wow. So we waited for a couple hours, and it must have been colder than 30 below because it's the middle of the night. And my team is a pretty aggressive team. Again, they were taking me there to win it, to get ready for this next race. And the requirement was you had to bring a tent. My team didn't want to carry the extra weight, so they cut the tent in half with a scissor before we went. So we really didn't have a tent. We met the requirement of having a tent, but there was only 3 sides to the thing. There was no,
yeah, that's not
because you didn't intend to actually use it.
We didn't plan on using it.
3
right?
sides does not make a tent, no.
So now we're stuck on top of the mountain, and this guy's dangling, and the team says, "All right, we got to dig a hole in the snow and just kind of, huddle up next to each other and try to stay warm till they fix this." Well, wow. It never gets fixed. I remember laying there thinking, and again, this is my first big experience with something like this, thinking, if the baby, when you were a baby and you came out of your mom, it must be a pretty horrific experience for the baby. Mm-hmm. This is worse. Like whatever I'm going through right now is worse than what the baby feels. And so we ended up hiking down the mountain, which I'll save it for the book, but it was a brutal experience that should have really killed all 4 of us. And then it gets worse from there.
It has to be more intense than birth because as stressful as that is, and as eye-opening as that is, to sort of gain consciousness in this world, to lose it, or to really believe you're about to lose it in an icy hole with other guys who are also terrified for their lives, that's going to change the course of your life.
Yeah, but and then what I say is, but it could be worse, right? And then you think about those guys in Bosnia that have no roof, no heat, no money, no food. So is it really that bad? Like, yeah, it was tough. It was 30 below. We didn't have a tent, but
what was that quote we heard yesterday on traveling up?
Oh yeah,
it's like
no
matter what the problem, you could always make it worse, right?
Yeah,
right. It could always be worse.
That's what astronauts say.
There's no problem that you can't make worse.
Yeah, that was the exact one, and that sounds like what you're in. Yeah,
My whole life I've been saying it could be worse. It could be worse. I don't know what I was up against recently, but I realized there was no more variations of it could be worse. So I just said I could be dead. Right? There was nothing left. There was nothing left. I was bumping up against the ceiling.
You told us that. What was it? Just this morning or late last night, that no matter how hard you might be suffering at something, no matter how much pain you might be experiencing, what's the alternative? Death. So this is actually a privilege to be able to experience whatever it is you're experiencing.
Anything's better than death.
The alternative is experiencing nothing. You don't want that.
Right.
You want to put that off as long as you can.
Everything's better than death.
Yeah.
So you told us a little bit about the Spartan races, kind of the easier of the two, although I probably wouldn't call it easy. What's the difference between the Spartan race and the death races, though?
So not to take anything away from Spartan race, because I don't want to say death race is all this and the public's doing a race that's easier, but it's more accessible. Mm-hmm. It's very authentic. It comes from these roots of a brutal event, but Spartan race is accessible for the public. I mean, we've got 74-year-old grandmas out there doing it. We've got 4-year-old kids doing it. We got
4-year-old kids.
4-year-old kids come out and compete. Now we have a kids race.
Well, yeah, sure, but still, it's more intense than t-ball practice, right?
Speaking of young kids doing races, your 8-year-old ran the Boston Marathon.
He ran the marathon. Last Monday. We CAF is a new charity for us. That's Challenge Athletes Foundation, and they're awesome. They get prosthetics for people in need that want to compete in sports. Mm-hmm. And my son Jack and I went to a running event on the Friday night before the marathon. And at the running event, they had a treadmill set up, and if you ran a mile, they donated $100 to the charity, to CAF. So Jack does that, and then he sees some of the victims come in from last year's Boston bombing. And
Jack is your son?
Jack's my son, and he gets moved by seeing it, and he says, "Hey, Dad, why don't we run the marathon?" And I thought, all right, well, I got a number. I don't think I can get a number for an 8-year-old, so what we'll have to do is just like walk alongside the spectators, and maybe he'll make it 4 or 5 miles. Well, man, he ends up going 24 miles, and we get to his mom, my wife, and we're 2 miles from the finish, and he looks great, and he wants to continue. And of course, my wife's saying, I'm a nutcase, and he can't continue. He's only 8 years old. And so there's a police officer, and the police officer said, you know what, you're better off packing it in here, because if you get to the finish, they're probably not going to let him go through. So I was thrilled. We go through the gates, and I said to my wife, hey, where's the car? She parked 2.5 miles from where we were, so we ended up getting 26.5 miles in anyway.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so I derailed you. So back to the death race. It's like, what specifically makes the death race so much more unique than the Spartan races?
Well, death race I like to say Spartan race is a baptism into this new healthy life like that you guys promote. Death race is an exorcism. Death race is going to get rid of all those demons you've got. It's going to push you to your furthest limits. The most hardened military men, women crack at death race. And I'll give you, this will say it all. I'll give you one quick story. Mm-hmm. Last year's race, we put everybody in a pond, a reservoir. It was 50 some odd degrees. Everyone got hypothermic. Mm-hmm. They had to swim a mile with a life jacket on for safety, especially since the Pennies incident. And after they came in on the mile, they went to the dock, and there was a roulette wheel. 99% of the roulette wheel said, get back in the water and do another mile. One sliver of the roulette wheel said, you're done. So what would happen?
Wow.
What would happen, this is really interesting, what would happen is as the person started to swim out to do the mile, they started to convince themselves, man or female, that they were going to come back and it was going to land on, they're done. And so when it didn't, you'd see them break down on the dock, cry. Didn't matter if 6-foot Marine, 4-foot woman, didn't matter. Everybody cried. And they had to get back in that water shaking.
Yeah.
Man.
So at 1 p.m. in the afternoon, we were only allowed to use this gentleman's dock until 1 p.m. At 1 p.m., I had to have a cutoff, and there were 3 people that hadn't finished their third lap. Mm-hmm. Pulled them from the water. 2 of them were 6'5" military guys, ripped, 3% body fat. 1 was a woman. I gave them the bad news. Hey, guys, you're out. You missed the cutoff. It's 1:15. The 2 guys hit the ground, and they start crying. The woman takes her leg off. She has a prosthetic leg, dumps water out and some sand, puts it back on and says, hey, you mind if I continue anyway? So think about how that's the frame of reference. That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Here were two hardened military guys hit the ground crying, and she's like, that's all right. I'm continuing anyway.
Wow. She's gone through some rougher shit.
And
I'm assuming.
So that's death
that's
race.
Powerful.
That's death race. I got a crazy. We talked about the farm.
Mm-hmm.
You guys up for a crazy story?
Absolutely.
That's why
Of
we're
course.
here.
I mean, this is. I guarantee. How many have you done? How many of these podcasts have you done?
This will be 116. 116.
Guarantee you've never had anything like this. What I'm about to tell you.
Ready.
Bracing for impact.
So the farm we're looking at here. I don't know if you want to get some footage out there. When we were doing that work, I told you about. I needed to hire contractors, people to do work here. Very hard to get folks that want to work up here around hunting season.
Mm-hmm.
I land a local guy that is willing to do the excavation work and get everything ready for that winter. Again, we're in a rush to get stuff done because winters are pretty harsh here. Guy says, I'll take the job, but I need at least a few days for hunting season. Look, you can't take any days off. We got to get the job done. Reluctantly, he starts running the machine. Fast forward a week, hunting season has ended. It's now Monday, and I don't know anything about hunting. I show up at the house. He's sweating profusely. He's like, I got to get out of here. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I had just finished work. Calm down. What's up? He says, well, my whole life I've hunted. You didn't let me hunt. I was operating the machine right out there in the backyard, and a deer ran by, and I couldn't help myself. I jumped out of the backhoe, and I tackled it and killed it with a handsaw.
Oh my God.
Swear to God.
Oh my God.
So I'm processing that.
Handsaw.
I'm processing that, and at the same time I'm saying, well, what's the problem? Right? Let's assume that's true. What's the problem? And he says, I didn't tell you I'm a felon, and hunting season ended yesterday, and the deer doesn't have a tag, which I don't know what that means, and I got to bury it in the yard. And I said, well, don't bury the deer in the yard. Put it in the bucket of the backhoe. I'm sure there's a hunter in town that went hunting and didn't get anything, and he would take the deer. So he puts it in the bucket of the backhoe, and he lifts it off the ground, and he leaves. Fast forward. There are other workers on site. There are a couple of Eastern Europeans because I've had a lot of luck with them. Mm-hmm. They don't speak any English. They just speak Slovakian. I go to bed. I wake up in the morning, and I notice the deer is not in the backhoe. I had called a local guy to pick it up. I assumed he picked it up, a hunter. I go to the general store and for lunch that day, and the manager of the general store says to me, hey, Joe, do you want some venison? And I said, hey, Mike, how do we have venison? And he said, strangest thing. He said the Slovakians were done work, and they were carpenters in the back barn, if you look back there, that brown barn, and they found a deer in your backhoe. So they threw it on their shoulders, and they carried it to the general store, and they gutted it, and they hung it in the freezer. Now, this might not be weird in Tennessee. I don't know, but this is pretty weird here. So fast forward. So I'm in New York, and every once in a while, the flights get canceled because of snow or whatever, and I convince this Turkish guy to drive me up here. It's a driver I would use every once in a while for 10 years while I was on Wall Street. Tony, Turkish guy. Drives me up to Vermont. We're about 5 minutes from Pittsfield, and he says, anywhere to get any deer meat? So I said, funny you should ask.
Funny you should ask, Turkish Tony.
Turkish Tony, go to the general store. Michael will cut you a piece. Fast forward 2 weeks. Slovakians are taking off for the holidays. They surround me in my garage, and they're screaming in their language. I can't understand them, and these are pretty rugged guys. And I'm trying to deal with the situation. I call a friend of mine who translates, and he says they're pissed off. They were taking off for their holiday, and the deer is missing from the general store.
Yeah.
So I call Michael, and I said, Michael, what happened to the deer? And he said, well, that guy Tony, Turkish Tony, came. He took the whole deer, stuck it in his trunk, and he left for New York.
Wow.
So wait, gets better.
Oh my God.
So now it's spring. I'm in New York. I need a driver, and because I never paid attention to the deer thing again. I called Tony. Somebody else answered the phone. I said, hey, is Tony there?
Oh no.
Tony's no longer with us. So I'm convinced that the Slovakians
Whack the guy.
whacked the guy.
You stole our deer.
Over
You
the
must
deer.
die.
Yeah. So so there's some crazy stuff that goes on up here.
Oh my God.
But is Turkish Tony no longer?
I don't want to investigate. I don't want anything to do with the deer, the handsaw, the whole thing.
You figured the concentric circles of this story were only getting wider and more intense. You're like, let's just not investigate this deer.
I don't want to be part of it.
Yeah. Slovakians are going to hear this podcast.
That's right. So, yeah, you hang out with a lot of rough-nosed dudes. Who was the guy you were talking about that you ended up hiring that wrestled in the dark growing up?
That's a great story. You want to hear that story?
This story is crazier. For sure.
You can tell it on here too.
You know so many interesting people through this Spartan stuff.
Oh man,
it's like you and this town attract like
it's a vortex.
Some of the most interesting individuals. I mean, as we were talking, a guy that we had seen and met in the general store a few hours ago was just running through the woods, like
going home.
I think he's probably was that the guy that lives in the woods? I don't know.
Very likely. Or maybe he's running to his home in the barn with the goats.
When we hit 1 million, and then I'll go back to that wrestling story. When we hit 1 million fans on Facebook for Spartan, I sent out a Facebook post. My wife flipped out. I invited every fan. I said, anybody can come to Pittsfield. You invited 1 million people to our house. They're not going to come.
In all fairness, she's probably right on this particular issue.
They've been coming. They come.
Yeah, I'll bet. Well, only 1% come, but that's 1,000 people.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Or more than that. Excuse me.
All right. So you saw this morning my kids do kung fu.
Yeah, just for the record, we were in here we ran a mile. What about a mile? You probably thought it was nothing. I thought it was like 10 miles. We came in here to your barn, very nice barn. We did a series, 100 reps of, kettlebell swings and burpees and one-legged pistols.
Pull-ups, double unders.
Yeah, a wide array of rope climbs, very intense. And the whole time I'm thinking, okay, I'm doing all right. And the whole time your kids are doing the splits and picking their heads up behind or their feet up behind their head and putting against the beam, counting reps in Chinese while their kung fu master instructor and wrestling guy are instructing them. That his son does bear crawls like a wolf across the barn floor, running like a friggin'. I wish we had video of that.
We do. I was stretching or something, so my head was real close to the ground as they were starting the bear crawl drill. And it sounded like a pack of dogs were running by, but it was just 3 kids.
And I was thinking the whole time, these kids would kick the shit out of most kids in this world.
I was sitting there doing burpees, and I hear down, up, and I turn around, and she's 6?
5.
Your 5-year-old daughter's doing pistols behind me, going down, up, down.
Very casual.
It's like 6 a.m.
Laughing and giggling, and then doing cartwheels at high speed down the thing. It was intense. It was amazing.
So needless to say. Yeah, they're doing that training, and again, I don't have any fighting skills. I wasn't trained in that stuff, and I don't have a lot of knowledge in that area. But Spartan Race hooked me up with a lot of MMA fighters.
Yeah,
Spartan Race hooked me up with a lot of military, special forces, and in those meetings, I learned a lot about wrestling, American wrestling. Like that, Special Forces wants American wrestlers. MMA trainers want American wrestlers. So I started to investigate and have more conversations about American wrestling, only to hear this incredible story, which blows me away, and which is why the kids train the way they do. So a friend of mine says, listen, you want to hear the best story ever? I grew up in Seattle, next door to 2 brothers. The dad was an ex-Green Beret, and every night after dinner, he had the 2 brothers go down the basement for an hour, put on a blindfold, and wrestle in the dark. Mm-hmm. He said it's cool once or twice. He did it for 10 years, 7 days a week, every night, to the point where, the wife wanted to leave. The social services were being called. So fast forward, he becomes a coach at Stanford University, wrestling coach. And they allow in some other wrestlers from the neighborhood just to mix it up with the kids. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess one of the kids coming in to mix it up, a neighborhood kid, it turns out he'd been really casing this coach, one of the 2 brothers that trained for the 10 years. So he asked the coach one night, hey, coach, can I sleep on the mat? I got locked out of my apartment. Coach says, don't be ridiculous, stay at my house. Well, coach comes home that night, sees the guy on the couch. He goes to bed around 2 a.m. He wakes up with a gun to his head. This guy that he was very nice to, let him sleep over, apparently had been casing him, and for whatever reason wanted to kill him. Stripped him down to his boxers, put him in a chair, and zip-tied his hands behind his back to the chair and zip-tied each leg to the chair. Put a pillowcase over his head, duct-taped his head, and I guess was getting ready to shoot him. The wrestler the coach, convinces the perpetrator to shut the lights. Figured that's the only chance he has. Perpetrator shuts the lights, and he goes into his expertise, which was wrestling blindfolded in the dark, and somehow takes this guy down because all he has is his head, and pins him and calls 911 from behind his back. Police come, break down the door, can't believe what they find, save him, and call his dad and tell the ex-Green Beret, I got to tell you, we've been to car accidents, motorcycle crashes, we've never seen anything like what your son did to this guy.
Brutalized him with his head. Damn.
So
tied to a chair.
So I immediately flew out to California to meet Jay, and we're good friends now, and you got to be good friends with Jay.
You don't want to go this guy's
don't want to be his enemy.
No.
And so yeah, so now my kids are training like wolves.
That's awesome.
Oh man.
Yeah. So as we were talking about earlier, this is a vortex that attracts some of the most interesting people, some of the toughest people. And as you were talking about before, the Spartan death race and things like that kind of serve as a filter, so that you can have the most interesting and the toughest and the most hardworking people possible, working with you and just being around those people. And what we got to do, we came in yesterday, and we didn't know what to expect really. We had never really been to Vermont or anything like that, not like this. And we flew into Albany, and we drove up, and we're like, this is really small town stuff. Like, I didn't expect it to be this small town. So we get into the inn last night. You called us up, and we go to the general store. We got to talking a bit, and we were like, save a lot of this for the podcast tomorrow, because if we talk about it, we'll get it ruined. But we ended up hooking up this morning doing the workout, but then we went to the general store afterwards, and people were filtering in to the store as we were all sitting there eating breakfast. And you were introducing, this guy just moved in, and he's living in the cabin up here. This guy's kind of living out in the woods. These guys moved out here to train for Spartan race, or they just wanted to live the Spartan lifestyle. And so CTP got to interview, and we all got to talk, and people got to talk to the camera about what brought them here, where they came from, what they're doing here. And then we also got to meet Farmer Joe, and he's running a sustainable farm here just right down the road with goats and some greenhouses and stuff like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a break real quick, and CTP is going to edit in all the footage of the guys talking, so all the Joes. Was there 3 or 4 Joes I met?
So many
in the last 12
Joes.
hours. So you're going to edit in all that, and then what else are you supposed to edit in?
Oh, the guy with the pennies. The guy with the pennies.
Footage of the guy drowning.
The dramatic moment.
So just want to let you guys know that. Don't be skipping over this part in the middle, because CTP says it's going to be pretty epic what he's going to edit in.
It's like a bonus
and
episode.
footage of us training. Apparently the only number is 100, because when we got to the workout this morning, he was like, all right, 100 pistols, 100 pull-ups, 100 burpees, 100 wall ball shots. What else do we do? 100 double unders.
It was 25 rope climbs.
Oh, yeah,
I didn't want to do 100 rope climbs.
Just something casual, a little warm you up in the morning,
So stick around, watch that during the during the break, and then we'll come back with more than likely some more epic stories.
We should end it with top of the mountain hike.
Yes, we'll do that. Right. Excellent.
I'm making a modification because I know you guys aren't exactly into this exact kind of workout. So we do 100 burpees. We'll do 100 kettlebell. I don't know your exact. Yeah, what's your exact term for that? Swings. 100 double unders. 100 pull-ups. 25 rope climbs to the first knot. And then we did the 100 jumping jacks already.
Was that a backward good? I think I have.
We'll do 50 each leg of these, but you guys do pistols, right? So you
oh my God, that's a good stretch.
It's a good stretch, mate. So I do those 50 each leg, and then we'll take a sandbag and do what do you guys call them? Wall balls. Yeah, we'll do wall balls with sandbag.
Show me your pull up.
So my pull up sucks. So so I'll do 5 at a time.
Yeah, it's so terrible. Okay. So you're just gonna break it all up?
Yeah, I'll do 5 and then take a second and do another. We'll do best.
You're moving around though.
Oh, 100, yeah. So.
Oh, you do 100 then.
I do 100,
and then you do
I go to something else. Yeah.
Oh, you're not gonna break it up.
You know how the Sherpers say, bad luck to have sex on Everest. Bad luck to mix up the workout. Now I'm gonna break it up.
That's the bummer part about filming. I don't get to do all this cool stuff, Joe.
We could switch. I could hold the camera.
Oh, it's really technical. You wouldn't understand.
All right, so who's starting with what?
I'll play you guys a little ditty while you're grinding hard. You like the Rugrats?
Well, I said goodbye to Chicago, I intend to say so, but the river changed all that I couldn't even say my own. I don't trouble the water, but the water troubles me.
You know what's so funny is like we have like all this new fitness, right?
Right.
Everything like mobilization, do all this stuff, but then we see your kids stretching cold in the morning with a kung fu master.
Uniform, kung fu uniform. Okay. Tonight, all right? Yeah. Okay. See if you're a real master. Yeah.
He doesn't think that's funny. And there's many people that have done like quote unquote like the wrong way to train, but they're, I think it's because like they don't think about like they haven't been exposed to it, so their mind and body aren't clashing. Meaning, you know what I'm saying? Like I shouldn't be stretching.
Think about most of the knowledge we get is from the wrong place, right? Marketing, magazines, trying to sell newspaper. That's where you get all your knowledge. A friend maybe tells you. You don't get knowledge necessarily. Like, so if I want to get knowledge, you just said it, I want to get it from somebody that's been studying for 2,000 years under a master, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily know what we're doing.
So, you know, you're up here. It was really quiet. I know when you moved up here. Is that like a part of the reason? So like your kids aren't like exposed to all that
craziness? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's again, my mother was forward thinking, right? So she was going to India and fasting. She did a fast in 30 days.
Yeah, I've heard people they like could fast for a very long time.
So she's very forward thinking in the 70s, and so she just, I would say she opened up my sister and my mind to allowing other kinds of knowledge to come in. Otherwise, you become very strict, right, and restricted on new knowledge. And so I would say my sister and I became more of a sponge. So like, oh, that makes sense, or, but not to the kind of stuff that's just some new snake oil gimmick, to the kind of stuff that makes sense. Like when you ever hear Joel Saliston?
I don't think so. What's the name? What is he doing?
Rogan just interviewed him too.
Polyface Farms down in.
Guy's extraordinary.
He's extraordinary.
Yeah. So you listen to him, and this sums it all up. He says, we had no money, so we wanted to set up a farm, and we couldn't build the big barn with the stalls for the cattle and have the system that all the other farms had. So we were like, well, in the wild, the cows just kind of graze, and then the birds come down and eat the poop, and like they just study the way nature works. I said, why don't we just farm that way? And it worked in a big way. They supply Chipotle. Yeah.
I didn't know Chipotle was like.
Oh, I didn't know that was Joel Salatin.
It's Joel Salatin. So it's rotational farming where you're trying to keep the soil to sustain itself, the grasses, the cattle. Cattle can't eat corn. A lot of people don't know that. They die on corn.
What's a way for somebody to start farming on their own property to start becoming more self-sufficient?
I'm gonna do one better for you. We'll go over to the farm. Yeah. And I'll introduce you to our farmers, and because they started from scratch, and we'll talk to them, and we'll say, hey, what was it like, right?
When we were kids, we never heard of our friends saying, my mom has cancer, my dad has cancer. Last 10 years,
my brother has autism. You know, my other brother's obese. It's a serious problem.
Let's say not everybody obviously lives in Vermont. They want to start like something, like stop buying from even the shit that says organic or from this farm or that farm. Like, can we trust it? Seriously.
I say no. Process. Stay away from processed foods. #1 rule.
What about the stuff that says organic? Because that's
organic processed food.
No, it says organic. The milk says organic. The eggs say organic. Isn't that word like?
So you're putting your money into the right people's pockets, so to speak. Even the big corporations that go organic are still funding the organic movement to a certain sense, right?
Okay.
USDA organic is kind of bullshit.
Right.
No Fault Organic, which, Northeast Organic Farming Association, much more real. They're helping small farmers like ourselves. USDA is helping Monsanto-based organic farmers.
And Monsanto-based, the people that did the Agent Orange and all that shit. What about that grass-fed butter stuff? I heard even some of the stuff that says grass-fed butter are...
Free range is what you have. Pasture-raised free range is much more important than grass-fed. You could have grass-fed beef that sits in a stall all day and doesn't move. They're fed grass.
Oh, wow.
Okay? Pasture-raised, free-range, 100% legit. That's what we do. We graze cows up here in the summertime.
Yep.
Right now, they're way down a mile away in a lower pasture for the winter.
Why?
But
to switch the food they eat and where they go so they don't, like...
That's correct. So they'll wipe this field clean in the summer, and that field down there is growing all winter, all summer long. Okay. So now they go down there for their winter.
Conjugate.
They grow hay in the pastures down
in their
here.
feeder.
And the hay that is grown right in these same fields is fed to the cows all winter long. They are 100% grass-fed, pasture-raised.
Joe, how did you get into farming?
My wife and I lived in the city in Boston for, go ahead in, man, for our 20s.
Yep.
And we started a small business in Boston.
Oh, look at this.
And we found ourselves, whenever we were getting away, we would end up on farms in different places.
Right.
Sold our business when we were about 28 and went and bought a small farmhouse in Situate, Mass, which is just south of Boston. Bought some goats, bought some chickens, started planting stuff, started producing more than we could consume ourselves. Really, we're doing it as like a homesteading hobby type of thing. And so we started another small business, and now we have 200 members in Vermont, New York, and Mass that we grow food for and collect food for.
And they come up here to buy from you, and then you
We deliver once a week. So we do a CSA model, which is a community-supported agriculture. It's like an age-old farming movement, right? Members of the community buy into the farm in January, February.
How much does that cost? Is it different everywhere around the country?
We have different programs. Yeah. It's pretty standard. I mean, we run a 20-week program, $600. So it's about $30 a week, and you get a big basket bag full of food. It's nothing.
Holy crap.
Spend more on coffee.
Yeah.
And people balk. They're like, whoa, $600. So, you have to break it down to that $30 a week.
Which shows what priorities are, right?
100%.
You're squeezing your lattes for the same price, but somehow real food comes at
$30 bottle of wine. No problem. Done with dinner, right? But you could have enough organic produce for your family for the week for the same amount, and people balk at it.
Yeah.
It's really hard. But that's like our biggest challenge is retraining people's mindset
when people go, eating like that is expensive, I ask them if they have cable. Do you have cable?
Right.
And they go, well, yeah. I said, I don't.
Have you priced out cancer yet? Right. Yeah. Cancer's pretty expensive too. So it's
have you priced out cancer?
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff on my mind. What kind of families do you find are the ones that are buying it? Is it like people because they got like a scare in their life, or is it people that just kind of more aware?
So it is. There's a couple different demographics there. People with children are probably our biggest ones, right?
Yep.
We became more aware when we had our kids, right? All of a sudden it's like, wow, you really start thinking about it, and it's our kids have a chance. My kids have never had a French fry from McDonald's, right? Like when we grew up, we ate French fries from McDonald's. I did anyways. My kids have a chance to only eat this way and really benefit their health,
That's awesome.
That's our number one people are families, and that's what we target is families the most. But there's a lot of, as the young 20s are starting to become aware of it, and they're starting to make a little bit of money, so now they can go out and buy a $600 farm share. So it's a trendy type hip thing to do as well, which we really have to play off of to make it expand, because it's not only about nutrition, it's about like the history of the future of the world, right? The future of the world depends on organic farming.
Right.
So you mentioned cancer a second ago. One of the things I think about when I think of cancer is chemicals, herbicides, pesticides, and whatnot.
Correct.
If we buy organic just at Whole Foods or anywhere else, is it really chemical free or herbicide, pesticide free, or what's like the levels of distinction with organic versus non-organic?
The organic, USDA organic does certainly. It's not going to lock from the inside, but nice shut. It yes, prevents herbicide and pesticide use to a certain extent, okay, because now there's natural herbicides and pesticides. Number one thing you can do is go to the farm you're buying from. If you don't have that option, you can research at Whole Foods. You know, it tells you what farm you're buying from on the tags. You know, it lists the farms. You can research them on the web. Anybody worth their salt will have a good website, you know, letting people know what they use. We use nothing. We use pyrethrin for aphids and stuff, which is a flour paste, you know, I don't want to call it a chemical, a compound, I guess, right? It's made out of squeezed flours, and there's different crops that you can plant in order to keep the pests away. Yeah. It's way more work, way more labor intensive, and that, you know, is why the price is, I don't want to say so much more, but a little bit more.
But my understanding of organic is it can still be grown with chemical fertilizers. Do you use that, or are you using natural fertilizers?
We don't. So the reason we're in this hoop house right now with these earth boxes planted in here, and we're not planted right in the ground, is because our chickens came into this hoop house, and this was their winter quarters. So they naturally fertilize. They biologically control because they eat all the grubs and the pests in the ground through the winter. But now this earth is too hot for us to plant in, so we need to wait a year.
Too hot?
Too hot, because they were also fertilizing through, you know, shitting all over the place, basically. So if you can't plant right in here right now because the acids of the chicken manure are too hot. Right?
That's one of my biggest complaints with organic is it doesn't, because once the government took over the word organic, they made the standard they make it too low. The standard's too low. So now, you know, then it may be chemical free, but now it's being grown in oil, essentially, because it takes oil to produce, like, the fertilizers that most farmers use. So now we're getting food that isn't very nutrient dense. So that's like one of my biggest complaints so when I go and buy food at the farmer's market, I'm not only concerned with it being chemical free, but what kind of, like, fertilizers are you using? And so it's good to see, like, when I talk to a guy like you, it's like, okay, we're using, like, natural fertilizers, which would be cow, chicken shit, and it's good, you know, I don't know, we read, what was the book? Michael Pollan, he wrote Omnivore's Dilemma. It talks about how, you know, the pigs and the cows come and shit, and then the chickens come back, scratch through all of it, pick all the grubs out. It's just like this nice little circle of life.
You can't have one component of that circle missing. From what goes in the ground to what scavenges the ground, to the timing, to the rotation of animals through the ground.
It's exactly
Every component is necessary.
It's really simple to figure out. You just got to watch nature. Watch the Nature Channel, right? You have the herds of bison going through the prairies. You have the flocks of birds following them, right? They're all doing it. They're making it happen. Everything done naturally is the way it's supposed to be. That's the same with, like, the pasture-raised beef, right? If you just think about it for a second, think about what you're buying. You have to just, you know, open your mind slightly to how things are grown. Are they grown the way nature intended them to be? You know, this kale has grown for millions of years. Right?
Yeah, if there's a better way for this kale to grow naturally, it would be growing that way.
And you're exactly right. Yeah. Now, humans can speed it up. We can make them bigger and prettier. We can keep all the aphids, which, you know, right here, let's see. There's some aphid eggs right there. I get a bunch of kale in my kitchen and I see aphid eggs on it. I want to pay more for it because you know that nothing's happening to it, right? Yeah. The aphid,
most people wouldn't think that way. They would think this was somehow tainted or dirty or gross.
You're exactly right.
So the fact that other things could live on it means it's that much.
It means it itself is alive.
There's no poison.
It can support life.
Right. That's right.
When did you start working for Joe?
I do not work for Joe. Oh, Joe is our landlord, so he owns the farm. Okay. My wife and I had our own business. We got a call from Joe. He wanted us to come up and lease the farm and run our business out of here, not be employees. And we jumped all over it. We moved up here about a year and a half ago. So we leased this land from him. He helps us out a ton. You know, obviously his network is huge. But he's a firm believer in that, and he's absolutely right. I don't get a paycheck if I don't produce, right? People that get paychecks get lazy, you know what I mean? So, and we can't survive being lazy.
If you want to warm up, you can just touch the fence.
Yeah, the fence is electric. If anybody, you want good footage, touch it.
No, dude, it's fun. I once out at a farm, and this guy that was working for my dad, he was a pain in my ass. And I told him to touch it. And he said, no, I'll only do it if you do it. So I knew what to expect. So I grabbed it and I acted like, I mean, it got me.
Yeah, it hurts. It's not going to kill you.
And I acted like, I was like, oh, you know, it wasn't too bad, you know, whatever. Like I just kind of gripped my teeth. If you grabbed it,
if you're not expecting it, right?
Because I acted like nothing happened.
You want to really get somebody? Get somebody to piss on it.
Oh, I've seen videos of that stuff. I'm like, oh, I don't want to.
Do you feel like your life's going to be complete hanging out with goats?
I think, yeah, it might complete the circle and I can die a happy man.
Are you going to suck a tit?
If I can get the milk straight out the teat, I'll do it.
Shake on it.
Nothing more natural than that.
Which one are you gonna ride?
I know these goats can be mean sometimes, but you said they're nice.
Oh wow!
No, they're very nice. This herd is very nice and used to people. There's people. We have the inn across the street, so people are out here all the time with them.
All right, so go ahead and teach us about kind of how all this works.
Okay, so again, as we were talking about in the greenhouse, it's all about the sustainable, all the working parts of the farm that have to all kind of work together.
Yeah.
And the goats provide some of the best manure for our compost as well. But also, the majority of the world lives on goats. Only us Americans and British live on beef cattle because they're so hard to produce and they affect the environment in such a huge way. So goats are much more sustainable animals. They're much friendlier animals. You know, they're a huge draw for us to bring some people up here, and people love coming out and hanging out with them. But the goat's milk is certainly healthier. Raw goat's milk for you.
Why is it just...
Yeah, do you know the differences between getting cow milk and goat milk?
So I know but I don't know like the nutritional differences, no.
Okay.
I do know the reason we got them instead of getting cow milkers is because they're a lot easier to keep, right? And they produce about 1 gallon of milk a day versus 4 gallons a day off a cow, so you get less. But I get $20 a gallon for my goat's milk.
You're going to be doing the milk. You need to take that stainless steel milking thing I have.
Yeah, we're going to.
You can pass this on to people. The casein, there's 2 proteins in the milk, and the casein protein is different in goats.
Okay.
Much easier processed by the human body versus the cow casein, which is not as easily processed.
So is that like the lactose as well?
No, that's a totally different deal.
Totally different. Because I know it has less lactose as well, right?
I think the lactose is different, but I think the amount of lactose is very similar.
Okay.
But you said the actual protein in some cows can be even found to cause cancer and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Raw, like the raw milk?
Not most of the cows in the United States, but casein protein causes problems with people's digestion, causes inflammation and congestion a lot of times, and maybe not so much here, but like further down the digestive tract, they might experience like too much mucus and stuff like that from that casein protein.
Interesting.
Which is why people would cough.
Or interesting thing about cow milk is that like people have casein allergies to the protein. They have lactose allergies to the carbohydrates, but the only thing we take out of the milk is the fat.
Right.
The only part that nobody has a problem with.
Joe, what's like the big stink with like government not allowing people to drink raw milk? Is it because it's only good for a certain number of hours after you get them? Like, why? Because the people that I've heard that have drank the milk, they, all like weightlifters, like kind of power athletes, they say it's amazing. Like, they just say it's like, they say the way it tastes and how it makes them feel is amazing. Why is it just not allowed everywhere?
So,
what's their take?
Good reason or bad reasons?
The actual reason, 2-second reason, is that raw milk, not handled correctly, produced in the wrong barn by the wrong people, can potentially form a bacteria that can kill you.
Okay. My wife told me that. She's looking out for me.
Smart.
I told you guys.
It's true. But if you know the farm that it's coming from and their practices, there's, zero. My kids drink raw milk. Okay, there's zero risk. All right. If you're buying it out of some dingy, dark alley, there's a little bit of a risk.
I hate it when
The same would go for any kind of produce, any kind of chicken. If somebody's selling produce at the back of a truck, you could get easily the wrong kind of bacteria.
That's exactly right.
From that as well.
But it's also the milk industry, the dairy industry that pasteurizes everything because it lasts longer and they can put it on shelves for months at a time. That have marketed against the small farms to make it illegal for us to sell.
If we buy milk off of the shelf and it says organic, I don't want to like get into all this. Can we buy from this brand or that brand? If it is expiring later, no good. If you're like, man, this thing's good for like 4 or 5 weeks, and it's and it says organic on it. What do you think?
Organic is better than non-conventional. Okay, that's my take on that.
But to me, it's just weird that milk is going to be good for 5 weeks.
It's terrible.
So that's what I'm. So is that really organic? I mean,
it can survive because it's been bleached and everything.
It's been tampered with.
Could grow.
Right.
But tampered with and
still pasteurized.
Ultra pasteurized.
Ultra pasteurized.
Like you said earlier, we said in the restaurant, I don't know if you got on cameras, pasteurized milk is dead milk.
It's dead.
Yeah, it's just dead
milk.
You're
killing so you're killing all the potential bad things that could happen, but you're also killing all the good things.
Well,
you know?
Do you eat?
I ate some meat. I ate some meat last night, but 10-15% of my diet's meat.
And then who influenced you?
Mom.
Your mom.
She was just not a believer in, but a lot of it came from everything was being processed unhealthy, right? Like if you look back to the 1940s, I guess, is where we got into this whole industrial farming movement for the war. And that was just unhealthy. So she was really looking for, hey, I want my kids to be healthy like Joe is.
Yep.
And meat was not part of that program.
But you eat the eggs every day, the 2 whole eggs or something? The 2 or 3 whole eggs?
Love eggs.
So
she wouldn't have been fond of that. My mother worked in a diner, and she called me one day. She got fired. I said, "How do you get fired as a waitress in a diner?" She said, "Well, people would order like bad food, and I wouldn't get it for them."
Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you meant like it was cooked bad.
No, if you ordered a cake or whatever, she said, you can't eat cake.
Yeah.
You can't have a soda.
So what's interesting about that is obviously having trained you this morning, there is no shortage in your ability to recover between these crazy ass workouts you're doing. So you don't
need cake for that.
Yeah, you don't need cake. You don't need crazy amounts, 5 pounds of meat a day. I'm assuming you're not slamming bottle after bottle of protein powder either.
I don't believe in all. The only supplement I believe in, I told Zach about, is ground up vegetables, and I only believe in that for one reason. When we got this farm, we started to learn about soils and growing veggies, and Joe will tell you, the more nutrient rich that soil is, the quicker the stuff grows, and that's what you need. You need stuff growing quickly to have a successful farm. And so we found that putting seaweed and manure and stuff, and all of a sudden stuff started sprouting. So I had minerals are really important. Can I get minerals that are not processed, phony?
Yeah. Do you work out, Joe? How do you, or just all the farming and carrying all these? Yeah, it's
you're not very sedentary. Let's put it that way.
I always wonder if there's like a farmer that's like, yes, I have to go lift the weights now. I've never. I don't know any farmers. I'm just waiting. That's what I'm waiting to hear.
I'm waiting. Bags of chicken feed up the hill to the chicken coop.
Or did Joe make it mandatory that you had to get up every morning at 5 a.m. and do 100 burpees with him in order for you to run the farm?
We worked out together 3 days, and then he went back to the farm. He was done with that.
You're the one normal guy on this.
That's right.
On these premises.
I do some of the races. I like it. It's fun. I go run up and down the mountain during nice weather, but I'm not going to go out when it's 17 below. I come out here when it's 17 below and take care of my animals, but it's not my thing. Farming's my thing more than the.
Are you taking any interns?
Yeah, for sure.
Really? My little brother wants to get into this sustainable farming.
Don't eat my jacket, homie.
But it's an audition, as your partner. It's an audition. And
can he bring his
Lots of people
have tried.
Can he bring his dog?
Probably not.
He's got a nice old dog.
Why don't they make it? Why are kids not making this audition?
Nobody can hang. Whether it's working out with him or working with me.
What time do you start your day and finish your day?
I have young children as well, so my day starts at 5 a.m.
Okay.
Right? I get up with my kids, I make breakfast, we eat. We're over here by 6:37.
Your kids come here on the days they don't go to school to work on the farm?
My kids come over here a lot. My little son actually has just started riding on the tractor with me for hours at a time. He'll just hang out on he'll be 10 years old operating that tractor better than anybody in town, which makes me so happy. And that's actually a very, very large part of the reason we're here is for our kids. This is where we want to bring them up.
Yeah.
It's
Hey, man.
It's great.
But hey, eat your camera, homie. This goat's gonna eat your camera.
All that
He's alpha.
with this, all that fun stuff aside, this is very hard to make work. Like if we owned a food business, all of us, and we were sitting at a board table, and I don't care, you have to agree with me here. The conversation wouldn't be
You're
about,
fired if you don't.
No. The conversation wouldn't be about, hey, let's make healthier food. The conversation would be about how do we sell more?
Yeah.
Because we got to make our quarterly numbers.
100%.
And so that's why you end up with foods that are processed, that last on the shelf a long time, that are addictive.
So
because we have to make money.
You make more money, and it lasts long. So it's like it's less.
There's no
less quantity. It's lasts longer. There's no corn subsidy. You're not getting subsidized by the government.
Exactly.
Right?
I was just about to say that's a very, very important thing to touch on. Conventional farmers and people that feed you shit. Okay, it's big pharma and big agriculture that are dominating the country, right? And it's actually run by big pharma because they're solving all the problems that are created or masking all the problems that are
creating problems.
Right. There's no money in healthy people, and there's no money in dead people.
My buddy calls it Western medicine for Western problems or Western diets.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Can you imagine if the boardroom, if I suggested, here we are sitting at the board table, and I'm like, here's what we're going to do, guys. We're going to sell water and celery.
Be fired. Throw your ass on.
We wouldn't make any money. Everybody be healthy. We wouldn't make any money. We'd be out of business.
And we're back. We're here with Joe Sena of Spartan Death Race. And I'm still confused about all that. But
I still want to get some examples about all the crazy shit that happens at the death race. What was the one where they had to they got rid of the chain on their bike and they had to carry the bike for 48 hours?
That's the one I've heard.
Something like that.
That's like the first story where I heard people were getting fucked with before, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. So is that true? What's the whole story there?
Yeah. So the thinking was, you talk to Michael Phelps' coach, and he'll tell you he purposely threw obstacles at Michael Phelps before the Olympics, like screwing with his flight tickets, breaking his goggles, doing things that would just frustrate the hell out of a competitor at that level.
It's genius.
And it was all to get him ready for the big one, and it worked. So the idea here was, let's take their bike chains off their bikes, tell them to bring their bikes, so now they're expecting they're going to ride, and never let them ride. And just carry their bikes around. Right? So
sneaky.
I mean, I heard that story, and then I was looking at, because Kevin Lowe, hi Kevin, I know you watch the show.
Hey, big boy.
Of course you do. He told me, he was like, dude, you need to sign up. And as I said before, one of the big reasons I didn't is just because conflicting sports, but
fear
and fear, mostly fear. It takes a lot of training to do something like the death race.
The seasons don't match up.
Whatever you
I
need to say.
weightlift year-round.
Yeah,
intentionally.
That's true. Yeah, man, you got to spend months and months preparing, so you got to take a break from one, and then take another couple months to recover. But I was looking at the registration page, and I was looking at the gear list, and I had heard that story before, and I was looking, and you guys had snowshoes. This is probably 2 or 3 years ago. You had snowshoes listed on there, and I was like, was it September? Is when the races or something like that? And I was like, snowshoes. I don't know if there's snow up there. I was like, that's just bullshit. Yeah. Bringing snowshoes for no good reason, because I knew that you'd made people bring bikes and they didn't get to ride them.
Yeah, no, that's exactly the game plan. Is just when's the race start? We might respond with and don't forget you should bring sunblock. And the guy's like, but I just asked when the race started. What am I going to do with sunblock?
So,
but those,
so the game starts before you even show up.
Way before you show up. One year we had a woman manning a station where they had to check in and then get instructions to go to the next station. She only spoke Mandarin. So the competitors are there. They're exhausted. They go up and they'd say, all right, I'm done. And she'd respond in Mandarin. And the guy or the girl, like, what am I supposed to do with that? So we do like to mess with them.
Was it there was 1 year, was it your race where they had to memorize the 10 first presidents?
That was the one I did.
The first 10 presidents in order.
In order.
They had to go up to the top of the mountain. Or I'll let you tell it.
You get it wrong and you're going back to the top of the mountain.
So you had to go up to the top of the mountain, come down, list them in order.
Yeah.
And then if you got it in the wrong order or missed the name, then you got to go back up, read the list again. And the guy who ended up doing the best was like British. Is that correct?
Funny. That's right.
Yeah. It was like he wasn't even American.
All the Americans were like, I have no idea.
We had a challenge once. We had we got them completely. We chainsawed a hole in the pond because it was all ice, and everybody had to get in and stand in it for 20 minutes, so they were frozen.
They didn't die?
No, and then handed them a pistol, a loaded pistol, and they had to hit a target. And and they only
no one tried to shoot you.
How long is
this guy?
How long is the waiver for the race?
Yeah, it's a pretty serious waiver, but you only had one bullet. So if you missed the target, it was
going back in the water.
4 or 5 mile hike, top of the mountain. There was another bullet for you.
Oh man!
How big? What kind of pistol was this? How far was the target?
It was probably 50 yards.
50 yards?
50 yards. And
how big was the target?
It was a small target. There's no way you're hitting it.
It was an apple. It was an apple on a stick.
Was it 9mm?
No. I don't even know what I don't even know what kind of pistol it was.
Okay, so if you're shooting a 9mm with a 5-inch barrel, you're accurate at about 55 yards. After that, who knows?
Yeah.
That's the rule. So you had it at 50 yards.
There are no rules in the death race.
That's all said on the assumption that you weren't just in freezing cold water for 20 minutes.
That's right.
Something tells me the accuracy goes down.
No one hit it.
So they go up, they got to get another bullet, they come back down, and then at what point do you say, okay, move on with the rest of the race, or you're done, or what happens?
Now that's the thing. We get to just change the rules as it goes because we are looking to see how people are reacting, who drops out. Most of the time in something like that, people just start dropping out.
Mm-hmm.
I heard this one story about a frat house. People had to show up at a frat house. Is that true? No,
I can't think.
Something like a frat house, and they had to chug a beer at some point.
No, that's not. We wouldn't put something like that.
No.
That's not a death race. That's Coachella.
That's called that's college.
You're mixing.
I did the death race one night.
Yeah, we just
all over campus.
Got really drunk, man. Had to run home naked.
So how long does the death race usually last? 1 day, 2 days?
Could be 1, could be 2, could be 3. It's once enough people have quit.
Okay, so once a certain amount quit, then you call it?
And we call
it. Say 15%, is that right? And whoever's furthest...
We like 15% finish.
So whoever's furthest down the line of the race is the winner?
Yes, whoever's completed the most at that point.
Yeah, and you guys had to cancel it, or you guys canceled it 1 year or shut it down early due to a storm, is that right?
No.
Man.
We love storms.
You know what?
We love storms.
I'm just like, I heard all these stories.
No, what you heard, here's what you heard. What you heard is in Boston at a Spartan race.
Oh.
We had a hurricane roll in. It was Irene. Mm-hmm. And Irene rolled in, and Boston shut that race down for us.
Oh.
So we posted on Facebook, we're sorry, but we can't host the race because of the hurricane.
Mm-hmm. And it was stupid Boston.
It was our worst experience with Facebook. We had never been attacked on Facebook before, and so the comments started rolling in.
I'll bet.
This is BS. This is crazy. We want our money back. We should race. And so I told my whole team, who are very experienced at responding on social media, stand back because I'm responding. And I responded, anybody who wants to race in the hurricane, I'll be there 5 a.m. And so some people showed up. Now the local town went crazy. The police, fire, everybody went crazy. But like, I was going to give them what they wanted. And and so we had about 150 show up, and that was the first hurricane heat at a Spartan race. Whoa. So now at almost every race, we have something called the hurricane heat, where a bunch of the really excited Spartans, we'll call them, the overambitious ones, show up, and it's
they all sound overambitious to me.
Well, it's very much like a couple of hours of military style training. They're carrying tires, they're working together, and it's turned out to be a really cool experience for those that maybe work their way through Spartan, have done a ton of Spartans, and someday might want the exorcism of a death race. Death race is really, it's like climbing Mount Everest. There's lots of mountains in between. Spartan races for everybody else, but somebody that's looking for that really risky push the limits event.
Transcendence.
Transcendence is
you guys have done some team stuff as well, where like no one's allowed to quit because if one person quits, everybody gets DNF'd.
Yeah, it's rules are made on the fly. It's really we're reading the crowd. The most fun we've ever had is down in Mexico. This past winter, we put on the Mexican death race. First time.
It sounds so much worse.
What a great event name.
Oh man,
we had never.
I want to go watch the Mexican Death
Do you
Race.
start with drinking a glass of river water, then you go?
Wait until you hear this, and you could actually cut in some video of this if you want.
Okay.
So the idea was, let's put on a traveling death race, not tell anybody where it is until like the last minute. So,
I did hear about this.
So
everyone had to have their like passport ready.
Yeah, so everybody got ready, signed up, ready to roll, and then last minute it was, all right, it's Mexico. So a bunch of military guys couldn't come down because Mexico City's
off limits.
Off limits. So about 100 came down, and they got in a bus, and the bus drove for 2 hours. Real luxury bus. It was beautiful. They got meals. They watched videos, and then the bus purposely broke down. The bus broke down. The only means of travel after that was a cattle truck. So those are the trucks where the bulls and the cattle go in, and there were some remains of cattle and feces and stuff. And they climbed in, and we put like 6 or 7 racers in each. So they were stuffed in there with their bags. What was most interesting, I'm most proud of, is some of the some support crew had come for some of the racers, like a girlfriend or a buddy, and they were there to help. And so at that point, we made it clear that if you were support, you and your racer leave Mexico at this moment, or the support is in the cattle car racing. So all the support climbed in the cattle car.
Holy shit.
And then the cattle cars were lined up the same way they line up bulls into those corrals where you can't see out. It's like an 8-foot concrete wall. We lined them all in. We zip-tied them and zip-tied their hands and let them know that once the gate is opened, they would be released into where they didn't know where they were going to go get their bib number. So the gate opens, they go in, and there's a live bull in the bull ring. Their bib number's on one side of the wall. They've got to go get that and find their shirt, get their jersey on, then they're allowed to leave the ring. Well,
sounds a lot like Jackass to me.
All hell breaks loose. And
that sounds awesome.
I'm sitting there with a colonel from SOCOM, from the military, and he says to me, we got to stop this. This is crazy. and I'm thinking, those guys are crazy. Like this, if this is crazy, we're really crazy.
Yeah.
So within minutes, people are flying through the air. The bull's getting people.
Holy shit!
You got to see this video.
Are people still
we definitely do.
Oh yeah,
zip tied?
Yeah, you got to see this video.
Yes, we do.
So you're doing this in Mexico because if you did it in the U.S., it just wouldn't fly.
Wouldn't fly.
All right. So we came up here because.
Did anyone die? Have you had a death in the death race?
No one's died. Knock on wood. We don't want anybody to die. We just want to get them right to the edge, really push their limits, and then
we only want them mostly dead.
Yeah. You don't want to actually kill anybody, but you want them to have that near-death experience because that's what changed your life. Like your brain actually gets reprinted. They actually can see if they scanned it that when you push yourself to that limit, you've physically changed your brain.
Wow. That's pretty intense.
Yeah.
We came down here because, or up here. Yeah.
Up.
It's up.
Not everyone here knew where Vermont was.
CTP didn't even know what city it was.
What city is Vermont?
The response was, I had to Google where Vermont was, and then I realized it was a state, not a city. But, Zach Evanesh, he said, hey, you guys got to come up here.
You didn't do the voice, man. Bro, you guys got to come up to Vermont.
Well, I was about to say what he said, and then...
No, do his accent, though.
But Zach said, bro.
There you go.
Bro, you got to come up and hang out with Joe DeSena. And I was like, who's Joe DeSena? And he's like, the Spartan race guy. I go, oh, okay, I know Joe DeSena.
Joe.
Then.
Okay, yeah.
As soon as he said that, I was like, oh, okay. So, I've been following that for a long time. But when I was like, I don't know what I had no idea. All I know is that you guys did this crazy race, and then you guys had the smaller races all over the place. That's all I knew. So we came up here and like, he's got a book coming out. Was it May 12th?
May 12th, 13th, yeah.
May 12th, 13th. He's got a book coming out. I was like, man, those guys, I know they're doing great things. I've always followed, obviously. I keep hearing stories. I've got friends that have done the race. I was like, why not? Let's go up there and check it out, interview Joe. But I want to hear about this book and why you wrote it.
Yeah, so the book I've been writing for 30 years in my head. And And really, it was a way for me to solve this problem we talked about earlier, which was why did the Eastern Europeans work so well for me when I was building businesses? Why were they the ones that really crushed it and wanted to work the long hours? And so I've been studying that for 30 years. What makes somebody that's just fighting for milk successful? And so the book recounts a bunch of those stories, and it talks about helping you change your frame of reference. Like this morning, we killed ourselves in the barn, and
Well, we killed ourselves. You looked fine. You recovered like 5 minutes after.
No, so by putting yourself through that pain in the morning, and each of us does it in a different way. What it does for me is it helps me more easily deal with the headaches of the day that are going to come, right? Because we're all going to have headaches. You're going to get a bad email that says this, or somebody you're working with quits, or a customer no longer needs your service, and it's tough, right? Yeah. It's tough to get through that stuff. But if you reset your frame of reference in the morning, at least for me, that's my way of doing it. It just makes the rest of the day easier. It's like, well, could be worse. Could be doing 300 burpees, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the important takeaways from the book. Another important takeaway is just learning how to get out of your comfort zone and commit to something. I like to commit publicly because it really puts you on the hook. And so I don't know if you guys do that, but like even for your weightlifting, everybody has a tough time staying motivated. But if you're honest with yourself and you let your buddies know that, hey, I'm going to do this, whatever this may be, I'm gonna marry that girl, or I'm gonna bench press.
Sounds like a terrible commitment to make.
So
I'm just kidding. I love my wife.
No, that's not funny at all, bro. No one laughed at that shit.
But making that public statement and that commitment helps you stay motivated. And then this other thing of just being gritty and being able to push through when things get ugly. I like to say, you go to do a 100-mile run, you're at peak excitement at the starting line. This is going to be great. It's all downhill from there. The second the gun goes off, and it's not just 100-mile run, it's wrestling or whatever sports we come from. It's just all downhill. What the hell am I doing here? This is terrible. I'm exhausted. Then the naysayers pile on. Like, I told you couldn't do this. This is silly. And at that deepest, darkest moment, it's decision time. You're going to quit or you're going to keep going. And most people quit. And like Thomas Edison, right? I don't know what the number was, but let's say it was 1,000 light bulbs, literally 1,000 light bulbs he had to tweak and work on before he got one to actually work. He could have quit at 2 and 5 and 10, but he didn't. And I think people are so close to success when they quit, they don't even realize how close they were. I saw this cartoon once where there's this guy mining away with a pickaxe, and you can see that the light, I mean, he's inches away. He'd been mining for whatever, 2 weeks. He's exhausted. He's just about to punch through, and he quits. And most of us do that. And so the book is, how do you stay on until you get success? No matter how you define success, doesn't have to be money. It could be anything, and
it could be not dying in a death race.
Could be not dying in a death race, right?
I forget who said this. It said that most people's biggest successes in life come right after their biggest failure.
Yeah.
Because until you have your biggest failure, you don't learn what you need to know to have your biggest success. So a lot of people quit too early. They got to go through that failure. Once you have the failure, you shouldn't quit then, because that's when you actually learned about yourself or about whatever your industry is or about whatever you need for getting better at your workouts or whatever. Until you have that failure and you push through it, you're not going to be successful.
No, I was just not being specific about which unit I was with. But I was just down with the military, and I was with their commander, and this is a very elite unit, and he said they push for failure. They want failure because it makes you better. And I believe adversity is the road to success. So I don't think you could have true success without having tons of adversity beforehand. So I think failure is great because it teaches you a lot. You get back up, right?
Can you touch on how you, speaking of failure, how you hire people? You got like a filter for a hiring process?
This is probably the most extraordinary thing I learned about you, Joe, all weekend. The most impressive thing. Your people and how you deal with them, how you cultivate them. This process.
We were talking about hiring this morning. You had some great thoughts there.
I was saying the best way to hire somebody isn't to interview them, is to give them an audition. Actually let them do what they're going to do and see if they can actually do it. And then you can hire them once you know for sure they're able to do what they say they can do.
So we just learned right now, Zach, we would hire as a waitress.
Big Z, bro.
Zach has shown up with our green juices.
That's
so
right. He can be our gopher.
Dude, you are a kind human being, man.
He's auditioning.
Zach, I will pay you in peanuts to do this all the time.
Hey, you want to know what?
Can you do this for us 7 days a week? So 7 to 7 every day.
Whatever I'm asked to do, whatever I'm asked to do, I do it to 110%. Like, I'm not into doing anything half-assed, and I think that's a ticket to hiring. Like, you find somebody that will always want to do shit, even if it ain't in the job, description.
Mm-hmm.
They just want to be awesome at everything.
That's the key. So to your point is I've just been doing it.
Can you be awesome at getting me that green shake real quick?
but no, I think you're dead on. I've been doing it instinctively. Never really spend a ton of time on resumes or this or that because, like you said, people could be lying. They're going to put their best foot forward.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to know that they have grit and they can get the job done. Most people succumb to instant gratification. They want what they want now.
Mm-hmm.
One of the greatest job interviews videos I've ever seen. I'm sure some of you have seen it. It was first of all, you guys know Shackleton posted. I talk about this in the book, and I'm going to screw this up, I'm sure. But basically, wanted men for hazardous journey. Right?
Oh, I love this
Isn't
post. That was the best.
Isn't that the best? Return unlikely. Rations low. Like it was just the worst job description, and 5,000 people actually signed up and said, "I want to go."
It was for they were traveling by ship.
Yeah, they got stuck. They got stuck for 2 years. But anyway, my point is there's a current video where they do something similar. It's a joke, and they basically they put out this post for this terrible job. It's 24 hours a day you've got to work. You can't
slavery.
You got to stand up.
Come be a slave.
You can't sit down. The only time you could leave for a bathroom break is when your partner. I mean, it goes on and on the list and how terrible this job is.
Yeah.
But they get 8 people to actually do the interview and they film them.
Uh-huh.
They Skype them. It's hilarious. and the people
sounds like an adventure.
The people are shaking their head like, is that legal? And at the end, he says, "Oh, and by the way, there's 0 pay." Right? And so there's silence. And a couple of the people come back and say, who would possibly sign up for that job?
Mm-hmm.
And the guy says, your mom. That's what a mom does.
Mom
right?
does.
Isn't that great?
You go, I gotta call my mom, man. Sorry.
Break down in tears.
Yeah, but the point is, like Zach just said, like there's some people, and those are the extraordinary ones that they don't care. They act like a mom, right? They just get the job done. It's not about what are you paying me right now, or how much vacation time do I get, or this job sucks. It's just get the job done and do it well.
Yeah, the whole culture here is just what you said a second ago. It's about being tough, being able to have some grit, and be able to grind through a rough situation and not quit even when you want to. And so it sounds like you just invite people up here to work, and you don't promise them anything, and you just say, if you can hack it, you'll stick around, and if you're a pussy and you want to fucking go home, you're more than welcome.
You offer them space in the goat barn or in the woods.
We had the shortest duration. We had a couple of people come up, and they lasted 5 hours.
5 hours.
5 hours.
So someone thought they wanted to be here, and 5 hours later, they
these are people that took like 12, 15-hour bus trips, packed up their life, and came here. And
5 hours.
5 hours.
So what do they do for 5 hours that just made them go nope?
Well, we threw this particular guy I'm thinking of, and I don't want to. He's a good guy, but right away, right to the mountain, grab a bag of cement. We got to go up the mountain. We got to put some cement down, and we did multiple trips. And I told him meet us 6 o'clock that night. We're going to do more trips, and he was done. He was on a bus out of here in 5 hours.
And you're not we mentioned this morning. You're not a do as I say do kind of guy.
No,
the reason that's so beautiful is you're not asking anybody to do anything, apart from the money thing, I guess. But you're not asking anybody to do anything that you are not willing to do. You're up at 5. You're down bed late. You're working your ass off all day. You're up that mountain with them. It's an extraordinary situation.
No, I love being involved. I'm not as physically fit or as strong as I was when I was 20, but I love being out there and involved. I can't sit still.
So if somebody, are there any positions you're looking to fill right now? If someone's going, hey man, I just want to go to Vermont and try and hack it.
Is the mountain cement job open?
Listen. When I was trying to get on Wall Street, I called incessantly. I begged to get that job, and most people, anybody could send us an email. Anybody could show up here. It's not going to be easy. I might not respond to the email. I might give you some hurdles to get through. But that guy Mark Jones, you guys spoke to this morning,
endurance guy,
yeah,
the coach.
He's got it. And so we've gone through maybe 70 to get to him, but he's got it.
Damn, 70.
Yeah, Dennis might have it, but it's that kind of attitude, that level of intelligence, no complaining, yes, sir. Not that I want to be addressed as sir, but it's that kind of person that no matter what you throw at him, they just get it done.
Like your buddy Don, who sat in the river for 4 hours to move that 2,000-pound steel I-beam.
Don's an animal.
Why was he doing it in the river again?
We were doing a winter death race, and Hurricane Irene knocked that bridge down. We had to get the. Honestly, I didn't think we'd get the beam out. I think it was just going to be a challenge that would break people, but we got the damn beam out of the river.
Did you say you spent 4 hours in the river?
4 hours standing in the river in jeans
in the winter.
In the winter,
in Vermont.
Yeah,
if you don't know where Vermont is, look at a map.
We're almost in Canada.
I just left summertime to come to where it was like 30-something degrees this morning.
Tough farming up here. You could see why they moved to California years ago.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what's your favorite part of your book? What's the part that you're like, man, that's the part you got to read?
So,
because Mike's not going to read the whole thing. What part should Mike read?
Maybe I should just have my wife read it to me. I think that'd be more successful.
Bedtime stories.
You know, the last chapter came in quick. Wasn't planned. Spartan race has a lot of advantages, and somebody asked recently, hey, do you love what you're doing? It's a lot of work, a lot of emails, but I get to meet guys like you. Got to do that thing with the military the other day. And one of the things I got to go hang out with Richard Branson for a weekend.
Oh, cool.
And I was down on his island, and chapter 10 talks about that. And there's a guy that leads from the front, and older, obviously. Terrible storm on a Sunday. I'm sitting in his house, and he says, I want to go out sailing. Who wants to go? So obviously I raise my hand. I'm in.
He's like death race guy. Come on.
All his sailing people and all the guests that were there were like, sir, you cannot go out. It was terrible weather.
Yeah.
And I mean, everybody was telling him not to do it. And so we jumped in the boat, and it was rough. And it was, and here I am. It's not like I'm a great swimmer or anything. And we hanging out with him and watching him go through that, and you could see why he's successful. So if you can't read anything else, read chapter 10.
Got it.
And,
so he was there just smiling and sort of, this is fantastic, and weathering the storm right there with you.
Yeah, he was just living.
Just you two guys on that boat. Huh?
Yeah, it was great.
It's probably a pretty nice boat, though. It's probably not.
But no, it was a catamaran. It was a sailboat. I mean, he's as wealthy as he is, and as well as he's done, and all the things he has. Yeah, he's not one of those kind of guys.
Just a simple boat, simple sailboat.
Simple.
Yeah. Cool.
That's Necker Island. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Or where's that again? I hear people talk about it, but I don't know where it is.
So British Virgin Islands, across from. I'm trying to think how far it is from Peter Island. I don't know how far it is from Peter Island, but Peter Island's nearby.
Roughly what continent is that next to? I really don't know.
Oh, no. So you're going right off Florida. You're heading right down there in British Virgin Islands.
Oh, okay.
So near St. Thomas, near the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Nice.
It's not in Africa.
It's no. Did you miss the friendly confines of your treacherous mountain trails and barns and workhorse mentality here? Because down there, I guess you'd have trouble running your recruitment strategy there with gorgeous beaches and.
I'll tell you what, I'm not and you may disagree hanging out here, but I'm not like one of these lavish guys. Like I've always not enjoyed sitting around and watching TV. That's not been my thing. But
I haven't seen a TV in your house, by the way. I think.
But no, there's a TV over there. But I like to, once I torture myself, like we're going to go on this hike when this is over.
Oh, yeah, you're going to tell a story, by the way, about the Indian statue.
Like I did when we go see Chinoa at the base of the stairs, and we get that workout done, then I don't mind. Then it would be cool to hang out in Richard Branson's lavish living room.
Yeah. By the way, before we do this treacherous hike, which I'm kind of nervous about, by the way, because it's not like I'm not already pre-fatigued from doing a mile run warm up. Which last time I ran a mile was in college. I'm ashamed to say it, but should I bring a peace offering to this Indian goddess? Say, please bless me on this journey. I make a small offering of respect to the mountain.
So the story, yeah, I mean you should, because the story with her is there's a stone staircase to the top, and the truth is that stone staircase was built by death racers. But we like to say that Chinoa used to live, we're going to go to her cabin. She used to live up top, and that she put the staircase in, and that she used to pull her canoe by herself to the top of the mountain every day. And some people still see her ghost. So I would, if I were you, I would bring a peace offering.
This is the kind of story that, like, 20 years from now or 50 years from now, people go like, there's this ghost Chinoa up there. This should be cemented into people's consciousness. This will be real.
That's right. Chinoa is no joke.
Chinoa, I'm making my offering.
Cool. Well, let's wrap this up. Where can people find your book?
SpartanUpTheBook.com.
SpartanUpTheBook.com.
Do you want to tell everybody about the real title of that book?
Can I?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So basically, we got in a big fight with the publisher. We wanted to call it Spartan the Fuck Up, but the publisher, which we think is a great name. I mean, I agree. It's succinct. It says what it needs to say.
It's catchy.
Yeah,
catchy.
It's certainly noticeable.
And it would be very noticeable in airports and things. But the publisher is old school and wanted to go with Spartan Up. So
you went with a publishing company that was too big.
It's too big.
Yeah, you should have gone with a smaller one.
We didn't. Yeah. I had no experience doing books.
Yeah, me neither. That's just an assumption. I mean,
I'm
just making shit up.
I'll be in the airport, Joe, and I want to see your book right next to like Bob Harper's Paleo Treats, then diet cookbook, like diet tricks, and then Spartan the Fuck Up.
What we were gonna do, we should do with you guys. We were thinking, what if we printed a bunch of them, Spartan the Fuck Up, and then went into airports, and when the lady wasn't looking, actually put those on the shelf.
Switch them out. We fly all the time. We could do it.
Wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah, that'd be great.
And then you can see the lady trying to scan it, and it's not scanning, and she's confused.
We've talked for over an hour right now.
She's like, what the fuck?
And we've talked over like the last, since last night. I can't remember if this was said here on the podcast or whatever, but we can repeat it. I don't have a problem with that. You just made the reference, next to someone who has like these paleo treats, like, I'm making paleo cookies, and which I love. I love to eat those things. Don't get me wrong, but you're not going to lose any fucking weight eating paleo cookies. I promise.
They're still cookies,
So like, no. I love eating them. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But if you're trying to lose weight, that's definitely not the way to do it.
Joe is not eating any fucking paleo cookies before he goes out for his 5 a.m. jog.
No, but one of the things we were talking about is just, you really encourage people to get in shape by just working hard. Like, no shortcuts, no magic pills,
no math or science, required.
People always publish these little diet books and stuff like that. And you're like, no, just work hard and don't eat sugar.
Well, we would sell a lot of books. Like if it was called Spartan the Fuck Up, and it was just like 3 steps to, get in better shape, lose weight, be successful. We'd sell a lot of, but that's not the book. The book basically says, you got to work hard, asshole. And people don't necessarily want to hear that, but that's the book.
That could be the subtitle. Spartan the Fuck Up. You got to work hard, asshole.
What's the matter? You get out of here.
Damn it! I should have hired. You guys should be publishers.
You were going to print
start a publishing
company.
Hey, I might start a publishing company. Kind of technically do. But all right. Anyways. Yeah, so, that's the general message of the book. I think it's awesome. It's very sincere and genuine. And yes, I will read the book, even though I have to sound it out all the way. All right, make sure you go to barbellshrugged.com, check out our newsletter, sign up for that, and you'll enjoy all the tidbits you get from CTP. He always signs off Reign Supreme and starts it off with a cool subject line. You need to open those emails because CTP's a funny guy. He writes some good emails. CTP wants to say something.
Don't go anywhere quite yet, because I'm going to insert some super crunk footage of us trying to climb this mountain to meet old Fraggletooth or whatever.
Fraggletooth.
And
she's going to smack your ass down up there, man.
Obviously, people can go to bookstores and to Amazon.com to get Spartan Up. Where else should they go? You got websites and whatnot. Promote yourself, please.
Yeah, Spartan.com is our new site. We're tweaking now, and that's going to house everything Spartan.
Nobody had Spartan.com. How'd you end up with that?
We got the greatest story on Spartan.com. So we started Spartan Race, and it was going well. And I get a call from a guy who's now a great friend of ours and works for the company. And he said, hey, listen, I own Spartan.com and all the trademarks and everything, and I'd love to be part of what you're doing.
$1 million.
That's right.
No, you would be blown away. He's awesome, and I just wanted to be part of the mix. So it was a great phone call to get, and he's a great guy. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Man, I wish
another good point, man.
Your equipment costs more than
damn.
Wow.
Another good point. Like it's guys like you who are working as hard as you do, and I was being honest and open as you. It's amazing how certain things just kind of come.
It just happens.
It comes to a guy. It comes your way, doesn't it?
It comes your way. It really does.
It's not mysterious.
Think of something and it just happens, and it's not. I think anybody could make their own luck. You just got to actually work hard. I think it was Thomas Edison said,
You sure like that Thomas Edison?
I love
guy.
Thomas Edison, but damn it, I'm going to screw up the quote. But it's something like, it's in the book.
The harder I work, the luckier I get. Or something like that.
Something to
I
that.
thought that was Thomas Jefferson. Who knows?
I don't know.
One of those Thomas guys.
It's just a good quote. Who cares who said it? You said it.
So
Michael
if you go to
Bledsoe.
Spartan, if you go to Spartan.com, that's where people can sign up for Spartan races and things like that.
Yep, that's where it all is.
All right. And you host those all around the world, by the way, in like 40 countries next year?
40 countries next year. As you can imagine, I mean, we just had a problem with the Pope. We were putting a race on.
There's a lot of people that have a problem with the Pope.
We were putting a race on in Rome last weekend. And, because there was like 6 million people there because of what he was doing. And the soccer game got moved.
Pope stuff.
We normally have, 10 days to get a race ready. We had 10 hours. So, but we pulling off in Italy, and we got France, we got Spain. We're all over the place.
And we had Obama land
Slovakia.
at the airport, left me in the air for an extra hour in Austin, Texas.
Thanks, Obama.
Yeah, people. Traffic was crazy. Screwed up my whole day.
I'm going to hook you up in Austin in a big way.
By the way, that sounds like a very first world problem. Like my plans were delayed by an hour. Fuck this guy.
What's so special about that guy anyway? All right, thanks for joining us, Joy.
I'm going to keep chiming in on this one. But just like we appreciate 5-star reviews, if you like us, you can probably do Joe a big favor. If you like his book, give him a review on Amazon, because that really does help kind of the visibility of the book. So if you like it, definitely review it.
I think we would all agree that this message and that mindset and these kind of tests would be so valuable to a vast sea of CrossFitters out there who need to put these tough wads in a little bit more perspective maybe. You can dig a little deeper and set your perspective and push harder and drill really deeper into what you are.
You can always push harder.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys.
Thanks.
All right, Joe. Thanks,
Joe. Thank you. That was great. You guys are awesome. Okay, it's 12 hours, 1,000 stones. Wait until you see this.
12 hours to build this staircase we're about to climb?
We're about to climb it.
I believe you, but I want to not believe it.
It's not even believable. Not even believable. I'm with you. We didn't think.
Now I'm wondering.
There was a pile of stone here from here to that green cone over there, and it was about 5 feet tall, and it's all these stones. It's not even believable. I'm with you. I don't believe it. And I watched it happen.
I like your point. This is how you know that something like the pyramids can be done when you have 10 years and an infinite
12
amount of driven
hours.
people to do the work.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Joe, but you know what you do? You have this like silent belief, like what you just said. You're like, I didn't know what you meant by like capture the story of what I do, but I went with it anyway. Like, you're the kind of guy that like you don't have to fully believe, but I think you believe that anything could be done. So you're like, here's the challenge. You're like, probably won't happen, but I'm not gonna be shocked if it does happen. Dude, those stones are bigger.
Oh, those are nothing. Well, I'm going to show you stones the size of Toyotas.
God damn it, Doug. That's like the 100th fucking fart we've just ate. We're just eating that fart all day.
This is his offering to the
dude.
Are you guys ready?
Is he the first person to fart on?
Yeah, Chinoa's not happy. Are you ready?
She looks happy.
You get a beaver attack or some shit up there? This will be a good explanation.
Wait, Doug. Back of the line. Back of the line. You're too far in back of the line.
All right, Chris, here we go. Let's see how you like this after we get to the top, huh?
I'm going to feel the mile run. I'll tell you that right now. Okay. All right. And one step in and my foot's wet.
Pimping ain't easy.
Wait. Hold hands. Barbell shrugged. Oh, shit, they're going to hold hands together.
Nice, real good.
You got technique, all right.
Please want to get me a video that's running right here.
Nice. Good job.
Beautiful. Evan Nash.
I've been over the wall forever.
Got a lot of weight.
There you go. Got it, baby.
Gonna tear it down.
Break the wall.
I'll take that.
You going?
We felt the ground. That
YOLO.
I'm only 220, but that's it. Once you're over 200,
fucking hell.
We gotta help him. That's it. I got you, bro. We got 6 great jack. Let's get 2 guys to help the Buddha.
No, I'll try. Fuck, I'll try.
Dude, don't try. Fucking do it if you're doing it. But if not, one on each side. He just steps on our quad.
Pretend you're Barbell Yoda.
Dude, you gotta fucking believe you can crush that.
Just try.
He laughed at that shit.
Buddha and the wall should be a short video.
That's a post. That's a blog post.
That is a blog post. Frame of reference. Your babies are on the other side of that.
There you go.
There you go.
Get it, dude. Just fucking go for it. Pull, be nasty.
He's gonna feel like an asshole if he doesn't get over.
Dude, the baby needs you. Let's go. There you go.
All you gotta do is
See
change
that?
your mind.
That's how world records are broken.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, hold on. My turn.
Buddha, good job. Ding!
What you did?
Hey guys, here's the deal. I need this thing moved. We can't have a trail being blocked by trees. And since you guys are the strength and conditioning guys,
This way.
We'll lift it up one time. We'll take a 5-minute break.
since my team put in all the stones for the stairs, your team can move a tree.
We're more the and guys. So there's strength, there's conditioning.
And you guys are the end.
We just do a lot of anding.
Guys, this is gonna slide pretty. Yeah. Oh, hold on. Watch your hands.
Look at all that brute strength. Look at all that conditioning.
Stories we can't put on film. That's the
I heard
problem.
that story. So the guy from Brooklyn was the guy that disappeared,
Yeah, Tony.
and the Slovakian guys.
Slovakian guys were fucking tough, but these guys were fucking rugged, man.
Yeah, they're probably like could have been like working like back where they were from. Probably worked with the mob and shit.
They were rugged. I mean, I'm just gonna give you one story with them. They were working on a building for us, and I walked into the building, and
These were the Slovakians from the deer story?
From the deer story. The Slovakians are working on a building, and one of them has it's gotta be 12, 13 foot log. That round, I don't know, 12 inches round. And he's carving out a center of it to put it on a wall, right? So I say to him, and he doesn't really understand English, so I'm trying to communicate with him, hey, when you're done, 4 or 5 of us will help you. We'll carry it up to the second floor. We'll put it on the wall. You screw it in. Anyway, I go do some other stuff. I come back. The log's not there. This motherfucker picked it up by himself, was holding it on the wall with one hand and screwing it in. It made that thing look like nothing. I mean, it was unbelievable.
That's nuts.
They were rugged.
When I was in, I think I was I may have been 20, sophomore in college, maybe a junior. A buddy of mine in the block, his girlfriend was Polish. Her dad was from Poland, and he had a construction company. You know, we're talking about like fighting for milk. All the masons, everybody, even just the guys that were like running the wheelbarrows and shit. The guys from Poland, he was telling me, he's like, they don't have jobs. One of the guys working with us was a veterinarian from Poland, a vet, and he was like fucking doing the work, and they were just hard.
No, they're hard. They're hard.
So he was essentially he's a doctor, you know.
I like to say, here's what I like to say to put it in perspective. And Americans will hate me for saying this, but like my dog, right? She's supposed to be this aggressive pit bull. She's sleeping on the bed. She doesn't want to wake up, right? She is the American. The Eastern European's the wolf, right? Yeah. Wolf's living outside, like fending, eating rocks for nutrition. That you can't compete with that.
You know what, like about your kids? Just because I've been around wrestlers and like your kung fu instructor and then the wrestling guy, they're like, come on, you're not working hard enough. Do it. I think that what I see in wrestlers is they burn out. And when I saw your kids, what I realized is they won't ever know the easy way. So they won't.
Oh, they might not burn out, right?
They can't burn out.
Right.
The other kids, when they tell me they're done wrestling, it's because they're like, I can't imagine cutting weight again. I can't imagine like missing, like being hungry during Christmas.
When we were running, I had to pay real attention to my son, right? We're going a marathon with an 8-year-old.
Right.
And so I said to him at mile 17, he was having a little bit of a fit. And I said, it's no problem, we can quit. I ain't quitting.
Said the Q word.
Yeah, and so it was good because I wanted to see, right? It, right? He wasn't quitting, so it was good.
I think that so what you're talking, what you're building here is Spartans, and they learn that from day one that you work hard, and then but
you read the history of the Spartans?
No.
I mean, if you read the history, you guys should, you'll be blown away.
I listen to what you say, and of course what you hear in like the when they're talking about the making of the movie and whatnot.
The kings and philosophers at that time, they would say those motherfuckers are getting a day off when they go to war. Their training is so insane that going to war is like a joke. Right?
Imagine that.
They trained for 20-something years before they were allowed to go. I mean, right? Don't feed them, make them fight for their food, and the only food they could eat is this black soup, which it was on purpose. We got to toughen these people up. And the mothers, I mean, again, it's all folklore, you don't know, right? But the mothers would say, you don't come back unless you come back with your shield or on it. That was a mother that said that.
Yeah.
There was one great story. One of the guys, hey, listen, bad news. You know, your son died. She didn't get upset at all. It was like, did he take care of business? Was the response.
Yeah.
You know?
Is it Pressfield who writes all that?
I look on Wikipedia. You know, I look all over for it.
Because you were mentioning
history.
Pressfield has written like The War of Art, and we were trying to connect you, remember? But you were in a different.
Or Art of War.
The War of Art.
Oh, right.
Because everything about his writing, about you getting your work done, is. So what? You're tired. You write. So what? You're not in the mood to write. You fucking do it anyway.
Right.
You didn't. Oh, you finished your book. Celebrate. No. Next book.
That's right.
Yeah. So like not being satisfied.
Right.
I look at like a lot of things like when I'm looking at your kids train. Then I think of stuff like when Dan Gable trained his wrestlers. He started to train them. He had the stairs. Took them to the stadium stairs, and he was like, "Who trains the hardest?" And he looked at those Shaolin warrior monks. And they would jump up the stairs. They would hop up the stairs. They would buddy carry up the stairs. They would hand walk up the stairs. And when I think of that stuff, like he would push them so much, and that's where I came up with that idea of like you blend science with hell. Like that shit was so far from science, but he made them so damn tough and so like resilient,
gritty.
Yeah, and those guys are still very. Very hard-nosed, meaning they're in their 30s, 40s, late 40s. Yep. They're still like chasing. They're always like pushing themselves to be tough.
Can't beat a wrestler.
Well, if it's like trained in you early, it's like you forget what it's like to be comfortable. You know what I'm saying?
Like the science says, it changes your brain.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're starving yourself to make weight, or you're working like that, your brain is getting different wiring than the kid that's playing video games and sitting on a couch. Completely different brain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Here's an interesting question for you. This will stump you. What would you say to a coach who has like on a regular basis a non-winning team? He's not like there, and nobody else is like pushing that. Like, how would you go in and if you had an opportunity to go and talk to that coach who's coaching a team, and let's say they get like whatever the sport is, they get 20 matches, competitions in their sports season, and they're always like 5-15, 3-17.
Is an option to get rid of the coach, or is that not an option?
Looks like nobody cares. It looks like the parents don't care that the kids keep getting their ass kicked. The coach doesn't care. But what would you say if they were
try to inspire him?
Yeah.
Quack.
I guess you got to ask him the question: is this acceptable to you? Like, are you okay with this?
Right.
And then his answer is he's either going to take responsibility himself, or he's going to say, well, the kids, the parent, whatever, and that's where you can guide him to like quit, or you can get somebody else. Yeah. Like in The Godfather, where he convinces him to kill himself, right, and not talk. You gotta maybe talk him out of that.
Yeah,
that
I just never will understand anybody that's like, yeah, we're
mediocre.
Or what about below mediocre?
That's most of the world. That's the problem.
But here's the other thing. Isn't it like, the animal food chain, the big animals or the aggressive animals like eat? Maybe that's like
it doesn't work in our society because of the law. You can't fire the guy, right? And so it doesn't work. Survival of the fittest doesn't exist.
In humans?
Well, no, it exists, but in modern society, they don't.
In a way, it's like you've worked your ass off. You've created Spartan. You're living the lifestyle you want. The guy that didn't, or the girl that didn't go after what they wanted to, didn't create what they wanted, and just kind of, what I call a clock puncher. They go to wherever they work. They don't live the lifestyle they want. And Ultimate Warrior would always say, he'd say, there's always going to be good and bad. There's always going to be good and evil. So it's like I find myself concerning myself with that stuff because I'm like just whatever you do, just fucking be awesome at it. Like if you wash tables, fucking be the best table washer in the world. So it's just hard for me to not get it, but maybe that's just the way the world is supposed to work, that this is the human food chain, that we can't all be great.
No, because in the old days, we were talking about, in the old days, you'd be building the pyramids. There's 1 million workers there, right? And 200,000 of them that are mediocre, they're not showing up tomorrow, but it's not because they're home. They're dead, right? We got 800,000 now that want to work. But it's not like that today. Today, you get food stamps, you hang out at home.
Unemployment.
I'm all for survival of the fittest. I don't think many people would appreciate that statement, but that's just.
I'm with you.
Right?
I'm with you. I think it just.
I mean, that's why I'm here. That's why we started Spartan. That's the whole thing. Is I just got tired of being around. I want to be around high functioning people. I want to be like military guys at that level. The really elite military. They're awesome to be around.
Yep.
It's awesome.
They are awesome.
Wrestlers, awesome to be around. I don't want to. We're on the planet for a really short time. I'm already halfway dead. I want to be around great people.
Yeah. Does that shit freak you out?
I'm starting thinking about it a little bit more because I'm having so much fun that it would suck to end.
Yeah.
You know?
Fucking.
It would suck to have to leave here, but it's coming.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember days where I wasn't enjoying life so much. I'd get on a plane.
Then you don't care as much.
I'd get on a plane. I'd be like, I went down. It wouldn't be a big deal.
Right.
You know, this is like over a decade ago. I'm like, fuck, I don't want to go to my job. And then now, I'm like, man, I would hate to die now.
Right. So much fun.
Like,
you got to feel bad for the people that are thinking the way you felt 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
And now I was stuck in a job I really wasn't happy with, and all it took was getting out on my own, and that all changed.
Yeah.
Did you get freaked out when you see where I lived in New Jersey? I saw everybody coming back from the city you're going to.
I was there.
So weren't like
I was right in
the
there.
tie halfway off, the clothes the shoulder slumped, eating the pizza from Penn Station, people sleeping on the train.
You're talking about 9/11.
But 9/11, I saw that. I saw the whole cloud and everything. It was very surreal. But I remember seeing the people always walk into the train stations or sleep
out like those old cartoons, right?
Yeah,
like
but I was like, I don't know why nobody would just fight back and just be like, fuck this.
Even worse for me is look at the traffic, right? 2 hours to work, 2 hours home. Guys just sitting there in the car.
They're being raised where that's normal.
It's insane.
When you're raised in the system, it's
insane. So you're just throwing away that time. You can't get that time back.
You know, the sheep, they're followers. They just this is the trend. I will go here. This is what everybody said to do. But you're trained to do that. As soon as you go to school, any idea you have that is awesome. I don't know of any schools that's like, oh, you guys have an idea to do this? That's awesome. Go fucking do that. They're like, whoa, that's
what I'm afraid of with the training I'm putting my kids through, because I'm on the other hand, right? I'm there. It's very regimented every single day, the training, and they're almost like clock punchers in a way. So you want to. For me, growing up, I was a madman. I was jumping out my window, escaping from the house, and so you want some of that spark in them too.
Sure. What do your kids go to a public school or? Yeah. I think we had this conversation. If you were worried about I don't know, public schools are different in all the states, but in essence, public schools are guided by the state, and they have to train. They have to. The teachers' curriculum is based on the exams, the tests that these younger kids have to take in second grade, and they're not learning They're not learning to be flexible. In essence, they're learning to take a test.
Our plan, knock on wood, is as a family.
Creativity.
We're gonna move around the world. We're gonna
That's
go.
what these people did. Marito and my friend, that their aunt and uncle lived in Stratton, half of the year in Vermont, the other half of the year in New Zealand. And I remember they did the cruise, and that's what they did. They traveled to different places.
We're gonna do that once I get.
Seriously, think about.
Fix the staircase first, then.
You guys want to go down? We got shit to do.
Listen to this though. When you think about it, what's the highest level math that you use to run your business?
Well, I use a little more because I was on Wall Street, but
right now you're running this global business. Yeah. Are you operating through simple math?
Yeah.
Plus and minus.
Yeah.
And maybe a little multiplication.
Little division.
Did you need the fucking calculus exam that you studied for 8 hours?
Here's what I said to somebody today, a very smart guy.